Hey everyone, can I ask you something real? Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, life still feels like a fight? Like you push in one direction, but everything pushes back harder? It's almost like swimming upstream, and the more you kick, the more tired you get. Maybe you've had days where you wake up thinking, why is everything so difficult? Why can't things just flow for once? That feeling of resistance, of struggle, it can drain the joy right out of us. And honestly, we've all been there. Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine holding a rope in a tug of war against life itself. You're pulling with all your strength, refusing to let go, but the rope is burning your hands. The more you pull, the more it hurts. And yet, what if the secret isn't in winning that fight, but in gently releasing the rope? Welcome to Wisdom Woven. I'm so happy you're here. This space is all about sharing stories, lessons, and gentle wisdom that can truly touch the heart. Before we dive deeper, I just want to say something straight. There are thousands of views on this channel, but only 0.3% people hit subscribe. That's so tiny. If you feel something warm while listening today, please don't just watch and leave. Like the video, drop a little comment, share it with someone close, and yes, please subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us grow this family. Now let's step gently into today's theme. Stop fighting with life. Buddhism has a beautiful way of showing us that suffering is born not just from pain itself, but from the way we resist it. When we fight reality, it only fights us back. Think about rain. When it pours, we can complain, or we can take an umbrella, or maybe even dance a little in it. The rain doesn't change, but our heart does. The Buddha taught that life is full of ups and downs, but the struggle comes when we refuse to accept those ups and downs as part of the natural flow. By learning to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be, a new kind of peace opens up. It's not about giving up. It's about giving in to the rhythm of life itself. So in this journey together, let's gently explore what it really means to stop fighting. Let's see how ancient wisdom can guide us in everyday struggles. Whether it's stress at work, conflicts in family, or just that endless noise in our heads. Because maybe, just maybe, peace isn't something far away. It's waiting right here, the moment we let life be life. The weight we carry, struggles against the current. My dear friend, let us sit together for a while. I want to talk to you about something very human, something you and I both know deeply, though we don't always say it aloud. It is this constant weight we carry in our hearts and minds, this endless feeling that life is somehow against us, that no matter what we do, the current keeps pushing us back. Have you felt this? That sensation of rowing a small boat on a river, yet the river is flowing in the opposite direction. You row harder, your arms ache, sweat rolls down your face, but the boat hardly moves. The world feels heavy, and inside, you feel heavy too. I remember once a young student came to me, tears in his eyes, and said, "Master, why is life always fighting me? I try so hard to make things work. I wake up early, I work late, I try to be good, I try to be strong, but still, everything slips away. Why is life so unfair?" His words were trembling with pain, and I looked at him quietly for a while, letting his emotions settle like mud in water. And then I told him, "It is not life that is fighting you. It is you who are fighting life." He was shocked. He didn't understand. But slowly, as we spoke, he began to see. Let me share a simple picture with you. Imagine you are standing in a flowing river. The water moves naturally, gently, the way rivers always do. If you walk with the flow, you feel light, carried, almost free. But if you turn and walk against it, suddenly every step becomes painful. The same water that felt soft and cool now feels like an enemy. The river hasn't changed. It's just your direction that changed the whole experience. This is how life is. When we fight what is happening, even small things hurt us. But when we learn to move with life, even heavy burdens feel lighter. But I know, my friend, it's not easy. It is one thing to say, go with the flow, and another to actually live it. Because the mind is restless. It wants things its way. We say, I want success like this. I want love like this. I want peace, but only if it looks like that. And when life does not give us exactly what we picture, we feel punished. We feel cheated. But the truth is, life never promised us that picture. It only promised us change, movement, impermanence. The Buddha often reminded us that everything arises, stays for a while, and then fades. If we cling, if we demand permanence, we are setting ourselves up for pain. You see, fighting life is like trying to hold the clouds in your hands. You reach up, you close your fingers tightly, but the more you squeeze, the more empty your hands become. Clouds are meant to pass, not to be captured. So are moments, so are people, so are experiences. When we stop clutching, when we open the hand, suddenly the sky is wide again. We can enjoy the cloud without needing to own it. This is freedom. Once, I walked through a village where people were preparing for the harvest festival. There was laughter, music, the smell of food in the air. Everyone was excited, but I noticed one farmer sitting apart, his face tense. I asked him, "Why do you sit here alone on such a joyful day?" He replied, "Because last year, storms destroyed my crops. I fear the same will happen again. I cannot enjoy the festival while the future is uncertain." I listened gently and then said, "Storms may come, or they may not. But today, the music is here, the food is here, the laughter is here. If you fight what is not even real yet, you miss the gift that is already in your hand." His eyes softened, and for the first time that evening, he smiled. This is how we are, isn't it? Always wrestling with yesterday's pain and tomorrow's fears, while today slips away unseen. We carry the weight of memory, the weight of worry, and in that burden, life feels like a war. But look around you. Even in your hardest moments, there is still a bird singing somewhere. There is still a cool breeze. There is still someone who cares for you quietly. Life is not always kind, but it is not always cruel either. When we soften, when we stop demanding it to be perfect, we start to notice the hidden gifts that were always there. The Buddha did not teach us to escape life. He taught us to see it clearly. And in clear seeing, the struggle dissolves. When a storm comes, we do not need to curse the rain. We take shelter, we wait, and we know the sky will clear. Fighting the storm will not stop the clouds. Accepting the storm will not make us weak. It will make us wise. Do you feel the difference? When you say to yourself, "Why is this happening to me?" you feel like a victim. But if you whisper instead, "This too is part of my journey," something inside shifts. You are no longer fighting. You are walking. You are learning. You are alive. My dear friend, the weight you carry is not the events themselves. It is your grip on them. Let go just a little, and you will see life does not always need to be wrestled. Sometimes it just needs to be held gently, like a child's hand. And so, the next time you feel the current pushing hard against you, pause. Ask yourself, am I fighting the river? Or can I turn and walk with it for a while? In that simple change of direction, you might find the peace you were searching for all along. Why we resist. The subtle roots of inner conflict. My dear friend, come closer in your heart as you listen. For what I share now is not a teaching written on paper, but something felt in the quiet corners of every human life. We all resist. We resist people. We resist situations. We resist even our own emotions. We resist change, resist endings, resist beginnings. And yet, if you ask anyone why they resist, they cannot fully answer. They may say, because I am afraid, or because I don't want to lose what I have, or because life is unfair. But beneath all these answers lies something deeper, something subtle, something hidden like roots beneath the soil. You see, resistance is not just about the world outside us. It is not about the boss who shouts, or the relationship that hurts, or the plans that fail. Resistance begins inside. It begins with a voice that says, "It should not be like this." That one little sentence is the seed of all conflict. The moment we believe life should be different than what it is, our peace is broken. It is as if we stand before the rain and shout, "Don't fall." As if we scold the wind, "Stop blowing." Life does not listen to our demands, and so we feel wounded. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman who came to me after her husband had left her. She was full of anger and grief, and she said, "Master, I cannot accept this. He betrayed me. He broke my trust. I will never forgive him." Her body shook as she spoke, and her eyes burned with fire. I listened quietly, and then I asked, "If you refuse to accept, does that bring him back? If you keep this fire alive, does it heal your heart?" She stopped, silent for the first time. Slowly she whispered, "No, but I cannot let go. If I forgive, it feels like saying what he did was okay." And I told her gently, "Forgiveness is not about saying it was okay. Forgiveness is about saying you will no longer carry the poison inside you. It is about releasing yourself, not excusing another." Her resistance was not against her husband anymore. He was already gone. Her resistance was against the truth of what had already happened. She wanted a past that no longer existed, and so she suffered. My friend, do you see? This is how resistance works. It is not the pain itself, but the refusal to let reality be reality. The Buddha often spoke of two arrows. The first arrow is pain. It pierces us when life changes, when loss comes, when disappointment appears. But the second arrow is resistance, the thought that says, "This should not happen to me." That second arrow, we shoot into our own heart, and it often hurts far more than the first. Think about how often we say these words. Why me? A job is lost. Why me? Illness comes. Why me? Someone criticizes us. Why me? We resist by believing life has singled us out unfairly. But look around. Pain visits every home. Loss knocks on every door. No one escapes this truth. Life is not punishing you. Life is simply being life. But the moment we add "why me," the wound deepens, the suffering multiplies. Why do we resist so strongly? Because the mind clings to control. It wants certainty. It wants to decide how tomorrow will look. It wants to choose who stays and who leaves. It wants to dictate the weather of the heart. But life does not sign that contract with us. Life has its own rhythm, its own dance. When we try to force it to follow our tune, we find ourselves exhausted, angry, and lost. Let me share another small story. A man once planted a seed in his garden. Every morning he went to check on it. After a week, he grew restless and thought, "Why hasn't it grown yet? I gave it water. I gave it soil. I gave it light." He became so impatient that he started digging it up, checking the roots, trying to make it grow faster. But the more he disturbed it, the weaker the plant became. In his resistance to waiting, he destroyed the growth itself. Life has seasons. Some seasons are for waiting, some for blooming, some for letting go. If we resist these seasons, we harm ourselves the way that man harmed his seed. In truth, we resist not because life is unbearable, but because we believe life should always be the way we imagined. We create pictures in our mind. Perfect health, perfect love, perfect security, perfect control. And when reality does not match those pictures, we feel cheated. But was reality ever bound to follow our imagination? Was the sky ever meant to stay blue just because we like it that way? Was the river ever meant to freeze its flow because we wished it so? Sometimes, my friend, resistance is also tied to fear. We fear letting go because we think without control, without resistance, we will be broken. But have you seen how the bamboo survives storms? It bends. It does not resist. The oak tree, strong and proud, sometimes breaks. But the bamboo, soft and humble, lives on. Resistance feels like strength, but often it is weakness. Surrender feels like weakness, but often it is the greatest strength. And yet, let me be gentle here. To say stop resisting is not to blame you. It is not to say your pain is not real. Your pain is real. Your tears are real. Your anger is real. But what I want you to see is that there is another way to hold that pain. You can hold it with softness, without turning it into a war. You can breathe into it, let it rise and fall, instead of tightening your fist around it. This is what the Buddha meant by letting go. Not pretending pain isn't there, but refusing to wrestle with it. So why do we resist? Because we believe we must control. Because we confuse surrender with weakness. Because we cling to the picture of how life should be. And when that picture breaks, we break with it. The subtle root of conflict is always the refusal to say yes to what is here. But my friend, when you begin to whisper yes, even softly, even through tears, the resistance softens. The storm is still there, but you are no longer fighting the wind. You are standing with it, learning from it, carried by it. And in that moment, the inner war quiets. Sit with this in your heart. Life will never stop changing, but you can stop resisting. And when you do, what felt like a battlefield begins to look more like a river. You may still get wet, you may still stumble, but you are no longer at war. You are finally walking with life, not against it. Buddha's insight on suffering and surrender. My dear friend, let us breathe together for a moment, softly, like the way wind touches the leaves of a tree. I want to tell you something that the Buddha discovered long ago. Something that has not grown old even after thousands of years, because it speaks to the human heart the same way it spoke then. The Buddha saw that suffering is woven into life itself. No one escapes it. Whether you are rich or poor, strong or weak, young or old, the current of suffering flows through every human life. But he also saw something more precious. He saw that suffering does not have to trap us. If we understand it, if we stop fighting against it, if we learn to surrender, we can walk in peace even while the storms of life pass through. You might wonder, why surrender? Why not fight and conquer suffering instead? Because, my friend, suffering is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is a teacher. Sometimes it comes to show us the truth of impermanence, to teach us compassion, to soften our pride, to remind us how deeply connected we all are. If you spend your whole life in battle against pain, you will never hear the quiet lessons it whispers. But if you bow your head for a moment and say, "Yes, I see you," suddenly the suffering changes shape. It is still heavy, but it is no longer unbearable. It does not crush you, it guides you. I remember a traveler who came to me many years ago. His face was lined with exhaustion, and his eyes carried the weight of loss. He told me he had buried 2 children in his life, and his heart had never recovered. He said he prayed every day for the pain to go away, but it never left him. "Master," he asked me, "why has life punished me so much? Why won't the suffering leave me?" I held his hand for a while, because sometimes silence comforts more than words. And then I said, "Perhaps the question is not why it won't leave, but what it has come to teach." He looked at me with surprise, and tears began to flow freely. "What could this kind of pain ever teach me?" he asked. And I told him, "It may teach you how precious every moment is. It may teach you how deeply love can run. It may teach you the fragility of life, and in that fragility, the beauty that nothing can last forever." The Buddha's great wisdom began with this: life is suffering. He did not say this to make us hopeless. He said it to wake us up, because once you accept this truth, you no longer spend your life in denial, chasing only pleasure and running away from pain. You begin to walk differently. You begin to prepare your heart, like a traveler who carries both sandals for the road and a cloak for the rain. You no longer shout at the sky for being cloudy. You say, "Clouds are part of the sky," and in that acceptance, you find rest. But surrender does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up. It is not sitting with folded hands while life falls apart. True surrender is active, alive. It is the willingness to meet life as it comes, without demanding it to be something else. Imagine standing on the shore when a great wave rises. If you resist, stiff and stubborn, the wave will knock you down and drag you under. But if you dive into it, move with its flow, you come out on the other side unharmed. Surrender is diving into the wave. It is trust that you do not need to control the sea in order to swim in it. Let me tell you a little about the Buddha's own story. Before enlightenment, he resisted too. He tried to conquer suffering with wealth, with pleasure, with luxury. Then he tried the opposite, with harsh practices, with starvation, with punishing discipline. Both ways left him broken, unsatisfied. Only when he stopped resisting, when he sat beneath the Bodhi tree and surrendered to the moment, did he awaken. He saw suffering as part of life, not as an enemy to be destroyed. He saw surrender not as weakness, but as a doorway to peace. We are often told in this world to fight, to compete, to win at all costs. But the Buddha whispered another truth. Sometimes victory lies not in conquering, but in yielding. Sometimes the bravest act is to bow, to open your hands, to let the river carry you. Does this sound simple? Yes, but it is not easy. The mind wants control. The heart wants guarantees. Surrender asks us to trust without guarantees, to open without knowing what comes next. I once knew a mother whose child was dying. She fought so hard against it, praying, bargaining, cursing the heavens. And when the child finally passed, she collapsed in despair. She came to me years later, still carrying the same grief, still saying, "I cannot accept it." I sat with her, and then I asked gently, "If your child could see you now, would he want you to remain frozen in this pain? Or would he want you to live fully, carrying his memory with love instead of chains?" Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she breathed deeply. "Maybe surrender is the only way I can honor him," she whispered. That is what the Buddha's teaching can do. It does not erase the sorrow, but it transforms the way we carry it. So what does surrender look like in daily life? It looks like breathing deeply when anger rises, instead of feeding it with more anger. It looks like letting go of a plan when life clearly closes the door, instead of beating endlessly on the wood. It looks like holding your loved ones close, but not chaining them with fear of loss. It looks like walking gently, knowing every step could be your last, but also your most precious. The Buddha's insight on suffering was not meant to make us sad. It was meant to free us, because once you stop fighting the fact that life contains suffering, you can finally turn your energy toward living fully. You can laugh more easily, cry more openly, love more deeply, because you no longer waste your strength on resistance. Surrender gives you back the energy to live. My friend, suffering is not a mistake in the fabric of life. It is woven into it, the way shadows are woven into light. Without it, compassion could not bloom. Without it, joy would not be as sweet. The Buddha saw this not as tragedy, but as truth. And when we see truth, we stop struggling against what is, and we begin to walk with it. So when suffering visits you, and it will, do not close your door in anger. Open it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Ask, what are you here to teach me? And then, surrender to the lesson. For in surrender, the fire of suffering can become the light that shows your path. The illusion of control. When the mind clings, my dear friend, come sit beside me, and let us speak quietly about something very human, something we all carry but seldom admit. It is the idea that we can control life, that if we just plan carefully, act wisely, and push hard enough, we can bend the world exactly the way we want it. From the moment we open our eyes in the morning, the mind begins weaving its plans, lists, worries, and what-ifs. We think we can hold the wind, direct the river, and stop the rain. But every time we try, life slips through our fingers, and the mind tightens its grip in frustration. I remember a young man who came to me, frantic and exhausted. His eyes darted like leaves in a storm, and he said, "Master, I do everything right. I plan, I save, I think ahead, yet nothing seems to go my way. Why can't I control anything?" I looked at him with calmness, and I said, "My child, do you really think life belongs in your hands? Or are your hands just grasping the illusion of it?" He looked puzzled. The idea that control might be an illusion was uncomfortable, almost frightening. But as we spoke slowly, he began to feel the truth in it, like water soaking through dry soil. Control is seductive because it feels safe. When we can predict, plan, and manipulate, our minds relax. We imagine ourselves shielded from pain, shielded from disappointment, shielded from uncertainty. And yet, the very act of clinging, the very act of demanding control, creates suffering. A child falls ill, a friend betrays, money is lost, love is unreturned. And suddenly, all the careful planning, all the tight grasping, seems like smoke slipping through fingers. The mind screams, "Why did I lose control?" And in that scream, suffering deepens. Let me tell you a simple story. There was a farmer whose entire life he believed he could control everything. The crops, the weather, the market, even his neighbors. He built walls, dug canals, arranged his seeds meticulously. But one year, a storm destroyed half his field. He was furious. He shouted at the clouds, cursed the earth, and beat himself for not controlling the wind. I asked him quietly, "Does the wind listen to your anger?" He paused, his chest heaving, and slowly, he realized no, it does not. The wind, the rain, the sun, they follow their own rhythm. His suffering was not from the storm itself, but from the grip of his mind, insisting it could command what cannot be commanded. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. We cling to people, to objects, to plans, to images of ourselves. We cling to the idea that life should stay the way we imagined it. But everything in the world is impermanent. People leave, money flows in and out, health rises and falls, relationships change. To cling is to fight the truth. And when we fight the truth, the battle is endless, exhausting, and unkind to the heart. I remember sitting with an elder once who had lost everything in his life. His house, his business, even his health. And yet, his eyes were calm, a gentle smile on his lips. I asked, "How can you smile after so much loss?" He said softly, "I have learned the secret. Life is not mine to hold. The moment I let go of the need to control, I found space to breathe. The world is like water, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but I no longer try to dam it. I flow with it." I studied his face and saw peace, not because life had been easy, but because the illusion of control had fallen away. Control can also hide itself in small ways, the way a shadow moves in the corner of a room. We control the calendar, the schedule, the emails, the routines, the image we show others. We say, "If I do this right, then I can prevent failure." But even small failures arrive. Someone forgets a birthday, a plan falls apart, words are misunderstood. And each tiny disappointment is another arrow, showing that control is never absolute. I remember a mother worrying about her child. She cooked carefully, cleaned thoroughly, monitored homework, and made sure every interaction was safe and guided. But one day, the child fell and scraped a knee. She panicked, frustrated, feeling she had failed. I told her, "No, my dear, life teaches the child through experiences beyond your control. Your love is guidance, not armor. To cling to total control is to deny the child the lessons life offers." And her shoulders softened as she understood. The mind wants to protect, but the heart knows it cannot prevent every fall. My friend, notice how we resist uncertainty. We make lists, set alarms, rehearse conversations, anticipate reactions, and still, life surprises us. And yet, this is the beauty of life. It is alive, not programmed. We imagine safety and control, but the true safety is not in the mind's grasping. True safety comes from learning to bend, to adapt, to smile even when plans fail. The river is never exactly the same, and yet it always reaches the sea. If we could flow like the river, we would arrive gently without fear. The illusion of control also touches our emotions. We tell ourselves, "I will never be sad again," or "I will not feel anger this way," or "I will always be happy if I do these things." And when the mind experiences sadness, anger, or disappointment, we rebel against it, tighten our fists, and make it worse. But when we accept emotions like clouds passing through the sky, we are surprised to find they do not last forever. We notice them, breathe with them, and they change naturally. No grasping required. Let me share a small practice that may help you feel this. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine holding a leaf in your hand. Now, picture the wind blowing. The leaf wants to remain exactly in your hand, but the wind lifts it, spins it, and carries it away. What do? If you let go, the leaf floats gently and dances. If you hold tightly, it crumples and breaks. Life is like that leaf. Control is holding tightly. Surrender is letting go. And when we let go, we find the freedom that was always there, even in our grasping. Many people fear that letting go means weakness, but the Buddha saw it differently. Strength is not in grasping. Strength is in acceptance. Strength is in seeing clearly that life is impermanent and flowing, and choosing to move gracefully with it. The person who can let go without panic carries more peace than the one who holds everything in their hands, trembling with fear. I have walked with many students who struggled with control. Some obsessed over health, others over relationships, others over wealth. Each thought that if they could just hold tightly, life would become safe. But slowly, over years of gentle guidance and observation, they learned that the mind's insistence on control was the heaviest burden they carried. The moment they released it, even a little, the world became lighter, more vivid, more alive. And so, my dear friend, remember this. The mind will always want to control because it fears the unknown. But you are not your mind. You are the quiet watcher, the breath between thoughts, the space that holds all experiences. In that space, you can choose not to cling, to see the world as it is, and to flow gently through its currents. When you do, you will find that life is not a battle to win, but a river to be lived, moment by moment, with openness and trust. Even in the smallest daily moments, notice where the mind is trying to command what cannot be commanded. Maybe it is a conversation, maybe a plan, maybe a feeling. And gently, without judgment, release it. Watch how the heart lightens. Watch how the tension dissolves. Watch how freedom quietly blooms. My friend, life will always be unpredictable, sometimes gentle, sometimes harsh. Control is an illusion. Clinging is suffering. But surrender, soft, gentle, and steady, brings peace. And that peace is not far away. It is here, waiting quietly, for the hand willing to release its tight grasp and trust the flow. Stories of the river, flowing instead of forcing. My dear friend, sit with me a while, and let us speak quietly about the river. The river is more than water flowing over stones. It is a teacher, a mirror, and a guide. Many people in life act like the river is meant to obey them, to flow where they want it to stop when they feel tired. But the river has no loyalty to our plans, no care for our schedules, no interest in our worries. It moves as it must. And yet, those who watch it carefully, who learn from it, find lessons that no books or words can teach. Flowing, not forcing. That is the secret the river holds for all of us. I remember a young student who was restless and anxious. He wanted everything in life to happen exactly as he imagined. When he failed, he became furious. And when he succeeded, he clutched the moment tightly, fearing it would vanish. One day, I brought him to a river that twisted through the forest. We sat silently and watched the water move. I said softly, "Do you see how the river flows around stones, over roots, under branches, and never complains?" He frowned. "It just moves," he said. "Yes," I replied. "It does not resist. It does not fight. It does not cling. And yet it reaches the sea, no matter what stands in its path." The young student thought for a long time. "But Master," he said finally, "I cannot be like the river. I have responsibilities. I have goals. I have people who depend on me." I smiled. "And yet, the river also has a path, carries life along its way, nourishes trees and fish and flowers. It fulfills its purpose without forcing, without worrying." Perhaps the question is not how to escape responsibility, but how to move through it with grace, like the river moves around every obstacle. You see, my friend, life is full of obstacles. We face problems with family, with work, with ourselves. We feel blocked, stuck, and frustrated. And the mind tells us to push harder, to control, to force. But pushing often creates more turbulence. The river does not push. It flows. It accepts the rocks, the sudden bends, the fallen branches. Sometimes it swirls and churns. Sometimes it glides smoothly. It adapts. And in that adaptation, it is powerful, unstoppable, and alive. Let me tell you another story. There was a village by a river, and the people there were always anxious because the water sometimes flooded their fields. One man, however, built his house on the bank and did not fight the river. He planted trees along the edge, reinforced the banks where needed, and let the water flow naturally. When the flood came, other homes were damaged, crops destroyed, hearts heavy with despair. But his trees held, the water flowed safely, and life continued. He understood the river's nature. He did not fight it. Instead, he moved with it, respected it, learned from it. That is the wisdom of flow. Many of us forget this. We forget that the river of life will move whether we understand it or not. We cling to plans, we demand the impossible, we push against reality, and in doing so, we tire ourselves. Resistance feels strong, but it is heavy. Flow feels gentle, but it is powerful. There is no weakness in yielding to reality. There is only wisdom. Even in the small moments, the river teaches. When a leaf falls into the water, it does not struggle against the current. It may spin, it may sink, it may rise again, but it moves naturally. How often do we cling to moments as if they were permanent? As if we could control every spin, every rise, every fall. The mind wants to anchor the leaf, wants to stop the flow, and in doing so, it creates suffering. Let the leaf float, my friend. Let it float. I recall walking along a riverbank after a storm, when the water was muddy and violent. At first, it frightened me. I thought it would destroy everything, sweep away the small village, uproot the trees. But as I watched, I realized the river had a rhythm. It carried debris, yes, but it also nourished the soil, watered the roots, cleaned the stones. Life, like the river, often seems chaotic, threatening, or unfair. But underneath the turbulence is a rhythm, a hidden order that serves a greater purpose we may not yet see. And this is why the Buddha often used images of water. Water teaches softness, patience, and persistence. It can erode mountains without anger. It can carve valleys without effort. It can adapt to any shape, yet it never loses its essence. When we fight life, we become rigid, brittle, and prone to breaking. When we flow, like the river, we find resilience, peace, and unexpected beauty. Let me share a personal moment. Once many years ago, I was sitting beside a small stream, watching it ripple over stones. My mind was heavy with worry about the people in my care, about the world outside, about the future. I tried to organize my thoughts, plan every step, control every outcome. But the stream did not care. It simply flowed, endlessly, gently, persistently. And slowly, I realized that my struggle was like trying to hold water in my fists. The harder I gripped, the more it slipped through my fingers. Only when I relaxed, only when I allowed my thoughts to float without grasping, did I feel a sense of calm, a sense of understanding, a sense of belonging. The river had shown me how to let go. The river also teaches patience. Flowing does not mean rushing. The water does not leap ahead in anger or frustration. It moves steadily, moment by moment, second by second. Sometimes it pools, sometimes it swirls, sometimes it falls as a waterfall. Life moves in a similar way. We cannot hurry it with force. We cannot command it with plans. We can only move gracefully, like the water, through the spaces we are given. And oh, how often we try to force happiness, love, success, or peace. We grab at them as if they were stones, clutching them so tightly that they crack in our hands. But like the river, life delivers these things when the time is right. We cannot demand them. We cannot bend the water to our will. We can only prepare, be ready, and float when the currents bring them. The river never complains, never waits for permission, never doubts itself. We can learn the same quiet confidence by letting go. Even when life is difficult, the river shows us that obstacles are not barriers, They are lessons. A rock may split the flow, but it also creates a pool where fish can rest. A fallen branch may block a path, but it also nourishes the soil downstream. So too, the challenges we face, the obstacles, the losses, the heartbreaks, they are not enemies. They are shaping us, carving us, teaching us, like the river shapes the stones over time. And so, my dear friend, remember this as you walk your own path. Do not force life. Observe the currents, the bends, the rocks, the gentle swirls. Move with them. Learn from them. Accept that the river will not wait for you, that it will not slow down or speed up to your schedule, and that sometimes it will rise higher than you expected. But if you flow with it, even for a moment, you will feel a grace that cannot be found in struggle, a lightness that cannot be gained in control, a peace that only comes when you stop forcing and start flowing. Flowing is not easy at first. The mind will resist, telling you to push, to grasp, to demand. But each time you let go a little, each time you stop fighting, each time you breathe and watch life move, you become more like the river, steady, resilient, gentle, alive. And over time, the practice of flowing instead of forcing becomes natural. You no longer exhaust yourself against the world. You no longer resent what comes and goes. You simply move with rhythm, with patience, with wisdom, and with heart. The river never hurries. The river never complains. And neither must you, my friend. Learn from it. Let life flow through you. Move with it, not against it. And in that flow, discover the freedom and peace that has always been waiting, quietly, like water beneath the surface, patiently carrying you to where you are meant to be. Embracing uncertainty. Finding peace in the unknown. My dear friend, come sit with me under this quiet shade, and let us speak about something every heart carries, but few acknowledge: the unknown. Life is full of it. From the moment we wake, we step into it, whether we see it or not. The unknown is in the decisions we must make, the people we love, the paths we take, the dreams we hold. And yet, most of us fight it. We try to grasp the future like it is a stone we can mold. We try to plan every step, predict every outcome, and control every person and event around us. And in this struggle, our hearts grow tight, heavy, restless. I remember a young woman who came to me, her eyes clouded with fear. "Master," she said, "I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I have so many responsibilities, so many expectations, and I feel like I'm falling into an endless void. How can I live without knowing what comes next?" I looked at her and smiled gently. "Ah, my child," I said, "the void you fear is not your enemy. It is life itself. And in this very uncertainty lies the beauty, the freedom, and the awakening you seek. To embrace it is not to give up, but to truly live." The Buddha often spoke of impermanence. Nothing remains as it is, not for a moment. The seasons change, people change, our thoughts, our bodies, our hearts. They all change. And yet we cling. We cling to certainty, to comfort, to the illusion that if we hold tightly enough, nothing will surprise us. But life will surprise us anyway. A loved one falls ill, a plan collapses, a dream fades. And in the panic and fear, we struggle, thinking we have failed because we cannot predict the future. Let me tell you a story of a fisherman I once met. Every day, he went to the river, casting his net. Some days the fish were plenty, other days there were none. He never demanded the river to give him a certain number of fish. He only prepared his net, waited patiently, and accepted the gift of whatever the river offered. In this acceptance, he never suffered. He understood that the unknown cannot be forced. It can only be embraced. And in that embrace, he found peace, even on days the river seemed empty. Most of us do the opposite. We imagine the future as a rigid path that must bend to our will. We plan, we worry, we calculate. And yet, the unknown does not listen. It moves as it must, carrying joy, pain, loss, and surprise in equal measure. The struggle comes not from life itself, but from our refusal to allow the unknown to be. Every time we fight uncertainty, we exhaust ourselves, creating storms in the mind that do not exist in reality. I remember a father whose child had fallen gravely ill. He spent every moment imagining the worst, preparing for the future he feared, commanding his heart to stay calm while his mind raced endlessly. One evening, exhausted and worn, he came to me and whispered, "Master, how can I face this without knowing what comes next?" I held his hand and said softly, "You cannot know, and that is the point. To know would be to limit life. To embrace uncertainty is to open your heart fully to the present. Right here, right now, you have love. You have presence. You have breath. This moment is enough." Uncertainty, when embraced, can transform our lives. It teaches us to be fully alive, to notice the smallest joys, to savor each breath, each smile, each touch. The mind wants to skip ahead, to anticipate, to secure outcomes. But the heart knows that the richness of life exists only in the moment. And the moment is always unknown, always fleeting, always precious. I once watched a mother teaching her child to walk. The child wobbled, fell, and cried. The mother did not panic. She did not try to control the child's steps. She extended her hands, offering support when needed, letting the child move at their own pace. And in this space of uncertainty, the child learned, grew, and eventually walked. Life is like that. We cannot hold the steps. We cannot force the path. We can only be present, offering gentle support, trusting that growth and change will happen in their own time. Even in our emotions, the unknown plays its part. Happiness comes unannounced, as does sorrow. We cannot schedule love, fear, or peace. They arrive, they pass, and they transform us. To resist them is to resist life itself. But when we accept that emotions, like the wind, move freely, we discover a calm that surpasses understanding. The heart no longer fights the waves. It learns to float, to ride, to dance with them. I remember a monk who once told me, "I fear nothing, for I know everything changes." At first, I thought his words were empty, too simplistic. But as I watched him, I realized he did not resist life. He did not demand certainty. He did not clutch at outcomes. He moved gently, fully aware that tomorrow might be bright, or it might be dark, but that each day, no matter what, offered the chance to awaken. This is the wisdom the unknown brings. Freedom to live, freedom to breathe, freedom to be present. Many people resist uncertainty because they confuse it with danger. But the unknown is not inherently threatening. It is simply unknown. Danger exists only when we cling, when we struggle, when we fear too deeply. The Buddha showed us that fear and clinging create suffering, not the circumstances themselves. To embrace uncertainty is to release fear. To release fear is to see clearly. And to see clearly is to live fully. The practice of embracing the unknown can start small. Notice a conversation that might surprise you. Notice a task that might not go perfectly. Notice a plan that unfolds differently than expected. Instead of tightening your fists, breathe and say, "I do not know what comes next. That is okay. I will move with it." Each time you do, a small part of your heart learns to trust, to relax, to flow. I once sat with a woman who had lost her home in a flood. She was heartbroken, filled with anger and despair. But slowly, she began to see that the unknown had delivered something she could not have imagined. A chance to rebuild, to connect with neighbors, to discover strength she did not know she had. Life had moved in ways she could not control, and yet, in the unknown, she found unexpected gifts. Friend, the unknown is a teacher of humility. It reminds us that we are not the center of the universe. It reminds us that life has its own rhythm, its own flow, and that we are a part of it, not its master. And in this realization, we find relief. We find softness. We find peace. When you wake tomorrow, remember this. You do not know what the day will bring. You cannot predict who you will meet, what challenges will arise, or what joys may appear. And that is exactly the gift. Life is alive, vibrant, and precious precisely because it is unknown. The moment we stop fighting it, we begin to live it. Embrace uncertainty as you would a friend. Listen to its lessons. Allow it to guide your steps gently. Trust that even when the path twists, turns, or disappears from view, your heart has the wisdom to move with it. Each breath, each moment, each encounter is enough. And slowly, you will notice a quiet peace settling in. A peace that comes not from control, not from knowing, but from the tender, heartful acceptance of the unknown, flowing through you like a gentle river that never stops, always carrying you forward, always teaching, always present. The weight of expectations. Learning to release. My dear friend, come sit closer, and let us speak quietly about something that rests heavily on every heart. Expectations. From the moment we wake, our minds begin weaving them. We expect people to behave in certain ways, life to follow certain plans, love to remain steady, success to arrive on schedule. We expect our own hearts to stay calm, our choices to be right, and our days to unfold without surprise. And yet, life rarely listens to our expectations. It twists, it turns, it surprises, and in that divergence between what we expect and what actually occurs, suffering quietly blooms. I remember a young man who came to me, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast, a storm behind his gaze. "Master," he said, "I try to do everything perfectly. I try to meet everyone's expectations. I try to be the son, the student, the friend, the colleague they want me to be. But no matter how hard I try, I always fall short. Why am I never enough?" I looked at him gently and said, "My child, perhaps the problem is not that you are insufficient, but that expectations are like heavy stones in your pocket. The more you carry, the slower and heavier your journey becomes. What if you could set them down, even for a moment? Expectations are strange companions. At first, they feel guiding, protective, giving structure and purpose. We think, if I can meet this standard, life will be safe, life will be good. And yet slowly, almost imperceptibly, they become chains. We begin to live for what is imagined, not what is real. Our days are measured not by joy, but by checklists, comparisons, and imagined approval. And in this striving, our hearts grow restless. We forget how to simply breathe, how to simply be. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman in a village who wished to grow a beautiful garden. She imagined it perfectly. Rows straight, colors balanced, flowers blooming in exact harmony. She tended the garden obsessively, moving each plant, trimming each leaf, demanding perfection. But the wind scattered seeds, the rain fell irregularly, and the flowers grew in their own shapes. At first, she was frustrated, angry at the garden for not obeying her vision. But one day, she paused and looked carefully. The garden was chaotic, yes, but alive, vibrant, beautiful in ways she had never imagined. Her expectations had blinded her to life's natural beauty. When she released them, she finally saw the garden for what it truly was. Expectations also live in our minds, shaping our relationships. We expect love to be constant, friendship to be unwavering, parents to be understanding, children to be obedient. And when the world does not meet these expectations, we feel betrayed, hurt, angry. But the truth is that each person is a river of their own experiences, fears, and joys. They will move in ways we cannot predict. To hold them to our imagined map is to cause suffering for ourselves and for them. The Buddha taught that clinging, whether to objects, outcomes, or people, is the root of suffering. Expectations are just another form of clinging. I once sat with a young woman who mourned a friendship that had changed. She said, "I expected him to stay the same. I expected our bond to be constant. But he drifted, and I am broken." I took her hand and said softly, "Did the river ever promise to stay in one shape forever? People, like water, flow. To expect permanence is to resist life itself. Grief is natural, yes, but suffering deepens when we resist what is real." She cried, slowly letting go of the imagined permanence. And in that release, she discovered a small, tender peace. A soft understanding that life and love are living, not frozen. Expectations often hide themselves in subtle ways. We expect our mornings to be calm, our work to be smooth, our meals to be pleasant, our conversations to go well. And when they do not, we tighten our fists, clench our jaws, and mutter under our breath. Life is full of small, daily surprises that are not dangerous, just different from what we imagined. When we fight them, we make mountains from pebbles. But if we release our imagined standards, we notice the beauty in the irregular. The taste of a meal we didn't plan, the laughter in a conversation gone awry, the unexpected kindness of a stranger. I remember a teacher telling me that expectations are like clouds. They hover above, sometimes dark, sometimes light, casting shadows over our hearts. We try to grasp them, to hold them, to command the sky itself. But clouds drift, they change, they move, and no amount of holding can fix them. Only by releasing our grip, by noticing their passage without clinging, do we see the endless sky of possibility behind them. And that sky, free, vast, unending, is where peace lives. Even in our own ambitions, expectations can be heavy. We expect our efforts to produce results, our learning to lead to mastery, our work to be recognized. And when outcomes differ, we feel frustrated, disappointed, and small. But imagine the craftsman who hammers wood or molds clay without expecting perfection in the first stroke. Each movement, each failure, each adjustment is part of the process. The beauty arises not from demanding perfection, but from steady, patient practice, from being present with what is, not what should be. I once met an elder who had lived through war, loss, and hardship. He told me, "I have learned to release my expectations. I no longer demand that life behave as I wish. I no longer demand that people be perfect, or that days be smooth. I simply meet life as it comes, and I am surprised by joy in the smallest places." His eyes shone with a calm I had never known in my younger years. This is the gift of letting go. The heart opens, the mind softens, and peace quietly arrives. Expectations are also mirrors of ourselves. They reveal our fears, our insecurities, our need for approval. When we notice them, we see where our heart is clinging, where our mind is restless. The moment we gently release, we begin to live with less burden. We begin to notice life itself, not life as imagined. We begin to hear the wind, see the flowers, feel the warmth of the sun, taste the sweetness of a shared meal, all without the shadow of imagined standards. My friend, notice how much effort we put into controlling life through expectations. We believe if we hold tightly, if we plan perfectly, if we demand outcomes, suffering can be avoided. And yet, suffering always arises, not from life, but from the gap between what is and what we think should be. When we release this gap, when we stop demanding that life conform to our desires, the heart relaxes, breathing becomes easier, smiles come without reason, tears flow without shame. Peace grows quietly, steadily, persistently. I have seen students change when they release expectations. A young artist stopped worrying about how her work would be received and simply painted what moved her heart. A businessman stopped trying to control every client and allowed each meeting to unfold naturally. A mother stopped demanding perfection from her child and began to see the small, miraculous moments of growth each day. In every case, the moment they let go, life opened to them, revealing gifts that had been invisible under the weight of expectation. Even the Buddha himself lived without clinging to imagined outcomes. He taught gently, acted compassionately, and let the world move as it would. He did not demand that people listen, that they behave rightly, or that life be easy. He moved with the rhythm of reality, accepting each moment, each challenge, each joy, each sorrow, and in that acceptance, he found freedom. And we, too, can learn this freedom, my dear friend, if we practice letting go. Expectations, you see, are like tight knots in a rope. We clutch them, twist them, pull them, thinking that through strength we can secure life. But the knots only grow tighter, constricting the heart, exhausting the mind. Only by loosening them, gently, patiently, without anger or shame, do we feel the rope soften. Only then can life flow freely through our hands, carrying beauty, sorrow, joy, and wonder alike. Even in failure, even in loss, even when people disappoint us, even when the day goes entirely differently than imagined, releasing expectations allows the heart to remain open. We notice beauty in small gestures. We hear laughter in the midst of sadness. We feel gratitude in the middle of loss. The world is richer, fuller, and more alive when we stop demanding that it conform to our imagined map. Friend, let go of the imagined life, the perfect outcomes, the ideal people, the flawless days. Notice life as it moves, moment by moment, breath by breath, experience by experience. Accept what comes without judgment. Release the weight of expectation from your shoulders and notice how the heart, suddenly lighter, can move with life, can love more freely, can see clearly, and can rest gently, even when the world is unpredictable. The practice is not easy. The mind will resist, whispering, "You need this, you need that, life should be like this." And yet, each time you pause, breathe, and release just a little, you discover a quiet strength, a soft clarity, a gentle joy that does not depend on circumstance. Step by step, expectation by expectation, you will feel the heart opening, the mind softening, and a freedom that was always within reach. And so, my dear friend, carry this with you. Expectations are heavy, they are often unseen, and they bind the heart more than the world ever could. Release them, not in one grand gesture, but in small, daily acts of noticing, breathing, and letting go. And slowly, life unfolds not as you demand, but as it truly is, a flowing, living, breathing gift, always teaching, always present, always beautiful in its own unpredictable way. Letting go of regret, finding freedom in the present. My dear friend, come, sit with me under this quiet tree, and let us speak about something almost everyone carries but rarely admits: regret. It is like a shadow that follows us wherever we go. We look back at choices, words we spoke, words we left unspoken, moments we acted, moments we ignored, and the mind whispers over and over, if only, if only. And in that repetition, our hearts grow heavy, our breath tightens, and we forget the life that is here, waiting for us. I remember a man who came to me long ago. His eyes were dim, his shoulders bowed with the weight of years. He said, "Master, I have done many things I am not proud of. I hurt people I loved. I ignored opportunities. I failed when I should have tried. I cannot forgive myself." I looked at him with gentle eyes and said, "My dear one, the burden you carry is not truly yours to hold forever. Regret is a sign that your heart noticed, that you cared. But carrying it endlessly is like trying to row a boat that is already sunk in the river of time. Let us see how to float instead of sink. Regret is an odd companion. It seems to teach us, but often it only binds us. It reminds us of the past, but the past cannot be changed. We replay events like a broken record, imagining different outcomes, trying to correct what cannot be corrected. And each replay steals a piece of the present, which is the only moment where life truly exists. To release regret does not mean to forget or to excuse our actions. It means to acknowledge them, learn, and then let the heart breathe again. I recall a young woman who had ended a relationship with harsh words. She haunted herself with every argument, every tear, every bitter phrase she had said. She thought that if she could only undo her past words, she could find peace. I told her, words are like seeds. Some fall on good soil, some on rocks. You cannot gather them back once released into the wind. But you can plant new seeds now, in this moment. You can speak kindly. You can act with care, and slowly, the garden of your life will bloom again. The Buddha taught that clinging creates suffering, and regret is a form of clinging. Clinging to what could have been, what should have been, what we wish had never happened. Our hearts, tightly wound around past mistakes, do not leave room for growth, for love, for joy. When we notice regret, we must speak gently to ourselves. I see you, and I will let you go, not with shame, but with understanding. I once met an elder who had lived a long life full of decisions he wished he could undo. He said to me, "Master, I wasted so many years carrying the weight of my errors. I thought I was learning, but really, I was punishing myself. Only when I allowed the past to rest, did I find the quiet freedom to live in the present. Life is here now, not yesterday, not tomorrow." Regret often teaches humility. It shows us the limits of our control, the fragility of our choices, and the depth of our care. But it is not meant to chain the heart. A student once asked me, "Master, how do I forgive myself for what I cannot undo?" I said, "Forgiveness is not a gift you wait to receive. It is a choice you give yourself. Breathe, notice the lesson, thank the experience for awakening your heart. Then release it like a bird into the sky. Watch it fly, and feel your chest lighten with each beat of its wings. Even small regrets matter. We regret harsh words, lost patience, opportunities ignored, kindness not offered. These too weigh upon the heart. But notice, each of these moments can also teach us something. They can guide our hands today, our words today, our attention today. We cannot go back, but we can move forward more gently, more wisely, more tenderly. I remember a man who had abandoned his dreams to satisfy others. He carried regret in the quiet of his nights, imagining what might have been. One day, he sat with me, broken but willing. "Master, I cannot change the past," he whispered. I nodded. "No, you cannot. But you can honor it by planting new seeds today. It is not too late to live the life your heart desires, even in small ways. Each breath is a chance to begin again. Regret can guide you if you allow it, but it cannot be your master. Many people resist forgiveness for themselves because they confuse it with weakness. They believe, if I forgive myself, I am excusing my actions. But forgiveness is not excuse, it is liberation. It is the soft release of chains we have placed on our own hearts. And once the heart is free, it can move again with life, noticing the warmth of the sun, the gentleness of a friend, the small joys that once were invisible under the shadow of regret. I once observed a child who spilled water from a cup and cried bitterly, blaming himself. A mother came, did not scold, did not scurry to fix the spill. She said gently, "It is done. Learn, yes, but now, look at what you can do next." The child stopped crying, wiped his hands, and moved on. Regret can be like that child, needing guidance, needing presence, needing release. If we hold it too long, it grows heavy. If we meet it with patience, it teaches softly, then lets us go. Even our deepest regrets, lost relationships, failed ventures, mistakes we cannot undo, can be transformed into compassion. For ourselves, for others, for life itself. When we release the past, we begin to see the present with fresh eyes. We notice the morning light, the laughter of children, the kindness of strangers, the gentle rhythm of our own breath. Regret no longer overshadows, but becomes a quiet reminder of growth, of awareness, of awakening. I recall a man who had spent decades in sorrow over a choice that led him away from his family. When he finally let go, he felt something he had never known: lightness. Tears came, but they were not heavy. Words of apology followed, but they were soft, gentle, without demand or expectation. And in that moment, life unfolded again. Messy, beautiful, unpredictable, but alive, vibrant, and free. Regret can also be a teacher of courage. It shows us the parts of life we fear to face, the truths we avoid, the growth we resist. But courage emerges not from denial, not from control, but from acceptance. To face the consequences, to meet the pain, to forgive ourselves, and to breathe through the discomfort. That is courage. And with each act of courage, the heart opens a little wider, the mind softens, and life becomes not a burden, but a gentle, unfolding journey. Even the Buddha knew that attachment to the past binds us. He did not linger on what had been done. He noticed, he learned, he moved with presence and compassion. And we too can follow this path. Notice your regrets. Speak to them softly. Learn their lessons. Then let them go, like leaves carried by a river, leaving space in your heart to receive the present. Regret is not a flaw. It is a sign of life, of caring, of awareness. But it must not become a prison. Every day, we have a choice: to remain bound by yesterday, or to release, breathe, and notice today. Every small moment of release is a step toward freedom, toward softness, toward peace. Friend, remember, the past cannot be changed. Mistakes cannot be undone. Words cannot be unspoken, but the heart can soften. The mind can breathe. The present moment is always waiting, always tender, always offering a chance to live fully, to love fully, to forgive fully. Letting go of regret is not a single act. It is a lifelong practice. Each breath, each thought, each step, each smile is an opportunity to release, to forgive, to move forward. And slowly, ever so gently, the heart learns to float again. It rises above the weight of yesterday, opening to the warmth of today, noticing the beauty, the fragility, the joy that was always present, even when unseen under the shadow of regret. Embracing uncertainty, the path to inner peace. My dear friend, come sit with me a while, and let us speak quietly about uncertainty, that ever-present companion in life. From the moment we open our eyes each morning, we face it. We do not know what the day will bring. We cannot predict the words of those we love, the actions of strangers, the turns of fortune, or the next breath of wind. And yet, most of us spend our lives wishing for certainty, clinging to the illusion that the world should behave in ways we can control. But life, my dear one, is a river, always flowing, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, and no amount of holding will stop its current. I remember a young student who came to me, anxious and restless. "Master," he said, "I do not know what to do. I do not know what will happen tomorrow, or if I am making the right choices. Everything feels so uncertain. How can I be at peace when nothing is certain?" I looked at him gently and replied, "My child, peace does not come from knowing the future. It comes from accepting the present, from feeling each breath as it is, from noticing the heart beating here and now. Uncertainty is not an enemy. It is life itself. We live as if certainty is a shield, something we can wrap around ourselves to feel safe. We plan endlessly. We imagine every outcome. We predict every response. And yet, the world always surprises us. The tree falls in a storm, even though we expected calm. Words are spoken that wound, even though we expected love. Opportunities arrive and vanish, often in ways we cannot anticipate. And in those moments, the mind trembles, the heart tightens, and fear quietly creeps in. I once walked with a woman who feared the unknown so deeply that she avoided every change, every challenge. She lived in the same routine, wore the same patterns, and avoided anything that might disrupt her sense of safety. And yet, she was never fully alive. Her days passed like clouds hiding the sun, and her heart was heavy with quiet longing. I told her, "The sun shines behind clouds, even when you cannot see it. Life is always moving, always offering light. When you resist uncertainty, you resist life. Only by embracing it do you find freedom. Uncertainty is not a punishment. It is an invitation. It asks us to trust, to move gently, to notice, to breathe. When the river rises unexpectedly, we do not demand that it stop. We adjust our steps, we float with it. And in that adaptation, we discover resilience. Similarly, when life shifts and twists, when people change, when days unfold in unexpected ways, we can meet them with a soft heart, noticing the flow without fear. I remember an elder telling me that uncertainty is the soil where life blooms. If everything were certain, he said, the heart would never grow. We would not discover patience, courage, or gratitude. We would not notice beauty, for beauty is born in contrast, in surprise, in the unknown. And in that moment, I understood that uncertainty is not a problem to fix, but a teacher to listen to. Even the Buddha lived with uncertainty. He did not demand that the world bend to his understanding, nor that his followers behave perfectly. He observed, he taught, he walked, he acted, all while knowing that life would unfold in ways beyond his control. And in that acceptance, he moved with immense peace, like a river flowing steadily, effortlessly, without grasping or resisting. Uncertainty also invites humility. We are reminded that we do not hold the world in our hands, that each person is a universe of their own, that events unfold with rhythms we cannot always predict. To resist this is to exhaust the heart, to tighten the chest, to drain the mind. To accept it gently is to let the heart soften, the mind open, and the soul breathe freely. I once observed a child walking on a narrow path. She did not know what lay ahead, and yet she moved with curiosity, sometimes stepping carefully, sometimes laughing as she lost balance, sometimes stopping to notice a flower or a leaf. There was no panic, no clinging to control. She simply moved, trusting her own steps, trusting the path, trusting life itself. How many of us have forgotten this simple, quiet trust? Fear often disguises itself as a need for certainty. If only I knew, we whisper. I could be safe, I could be happy, I could avoid pain. And yet, certainty is a mirage. No one is safe from the twists of life. No one is free from sorrow, and no plan can protect the heart from loss. But when we accept that uncertainty is natural, inevitable, and even beautiful, we step into a life that is alive, full, and tender. I remember a young man who lost his job unexpectedly. He arrived at my hut, eyes wide with worry. "Master, what will happen to me? I cannot control this. I feel lost." I took his hands and said, "Do you see this moment? It is real. The past is gone. The future is unseen. But this moment, here now, breath in your lungs, sunlight on your face, wind on your skin, is alive. Trust it. Move with it. Uncertainty will guide you, if you allow it." And slowly, he began to breathe, noticing that life continued, that opportunities still arrived, that his heart could still trust. Even in pain, uncertainty teaches. When illness comes, when relationships shift, when dreams falter, we are reminded that life is not guaranteed, that control is limited. And yet, in the very presence of not knowing, we discover courage, presence, and depth. We notice the softness of a friend's hand, the warmth of a meal, the quiet beating of our own heart. Uncertainty sharpens awareness, and awareness brings peace. I have seen students transform when they embrace uncertainty. A young artist, unsure if her work would ever be appreciated, painted freely and discovered beauty in each stroke. A merchant, fearing market shifts, met each day without fear and found unexpected success. A mother, unsure how her children would grow, learned to cherish each moment and found her heart opening in ways she had never imagined. Uncertainty became not a curse, but a guide. Friend, uncertainty also teaches patience. When we do not know the outcome, we are forced to wait, to notice, to soften. In waiting, the heart learns stillness. The mind learns clarity. The soul remembers its own rhythm. And in that rhythm, even amid storms, there is a quiet, steady peace, like the rhythm of waves meeting the shore, ebbing and flowing, never resisting, always present. Even small uncertainties matter. The rain may come or not. A conversation may go smoothly or not. A letter may arrive or not. Each minor unpredictability can stir anxiety if we resist it. But if we meet it with curiosity, softness, and patience, even the smallest events become lessons, invitations to notice life as it is, rather than life as we wish it to be. I recall a man who spent years trying to control every aspect of his career, relationships, and health. Anxiety haunted him like a shadow. One day, I said to him, "What if you could let go, not of responsibility, but of the need to control outcomes?" He paused, then began to breathe differently. Slowly, he noticed that life continued. Opportunities arose in unexpected ways. People responded with kindness, and he could meet each moment with less fear. Uncertainty had become a friend, not an enemy. Even nature teaches this lesson. Trees do not demand a perfect season. Rivers do not resist the bends. Clouds do not fight the wind. Everything flows, grows, and moves in its own rhythm. And we too can move gently with life, noticing its patterns, its surprises, its gifts, without demanding that it conform to our imagined order. Friend, notice how often we cling to plans, to expectations, to imagined outcomes. We tighten our fists, hold our breath, and fear the unknown. But the unknown is life's pulse. It is where possibility lives, where growth emerges, where love blossoms. To resist it is to tighten the chest and weigh down the heart. To embrace it is to breathe freely, walk softly, and notice life with tender, open eyes. Uncertainty also invites creativity. When we do not know what will happen, our minds begin to imagine, to explore, to discover. We try new paths, we learn new skills, we open our hearts in unexpected ways. If life were predictable, we would never stretch, we would never grow, we would never truly see the beauty in the everyday miracle of existence. I once met an elder who had faced countless losses and unexpected changes. He said, "I have learned to welcome uncertainty as I would a guest. Sometimes it is challenging, sometimes it is gentle, but always it teaches, always it moves me, always it opens the heart." And in his words, I felt a deep calm. To embrace uncertainty is not passive. It is active, alive, and profoundly freeing. Every breath is uncertain. Every heartbeat is uncertain. And yet, life continues always, offering its gifts, its lessons, its joys. When we cling to what we think should be, we miss what is. When we release, even a little, we open ourselves to wonder, to connection, to presence. Friend, let us practice together. Notice the uncertainty around you. Breathe through it. Smile softly at it. Allow life to unfold in its own rhythm, and notice how peace, tender and quiet, arrives in the heart that no longer resists, but embraces the unknown with courage, curiosity, and love. The art of patience, waiting without worry. My dear friend, come, sit beside me for a while, and let us speak of patience. Many people think patience is simply waiting, like standing in line or watching the clock slowly tick by. But patience, true patience, is something much deeper. It is the quiet strength of the heart, the soft understanding that life unfolds in its own time, that every flower blooms when it is ready, and that every heart, including our own, grows at its own pace. I remember a young man who came to me, frustrated and restless. He said, "Master, I have worked so hard, but nothing seems to happen. I try to be patient, but I feel like I am wasting my life. How do I wait without feeling despair?" I looked at him gently and said, "Ah, my child, patience is not about forcing the world to move faster or making life obey your schedule. It is about trusting the rhythm of life, listening to its quiet song, and letting your heart learn to breathe in every moment, even when nothing seems to change. Patience is like the river that flows steadily, never rushing, never fighting the rocks and bends in its path. Sometimes it moves quickly, sometimes slowly, but it always finds its way. Similarly, life moves in patterns we may not understand. Opportunities, growth, love, success, they arrive in their own time. To resist is to create suffering. To accept is to find peace. I once observed a woman who planted a small garden. She watered her seeds every day, watched for sprouts, and hoped for blooms. Some seeds grew slowly, some barely at all, and she became anxious. One morning, I said to her, "Do you see how the sun rises? It does not rush the day. The clouds do not hurry across the sky. Everything has its own pace. Your seeds will grow when they are ready. Your heart will find joy if you move with patience, not against it." Slowly, she began to breathe differently, noticing the gentle unfolding rather than clinging to results. Impatience often comes from desire. Desire for recognition, for results, for certainty. But desire, when paired with expectation, becomes a heavy chain. We want, we wait, we worry, and then frustration grows. True patience does not ignore desire. It simply understands it and softens the grasp. It says, I want yes, but I will allow life to move as it will. I will not crush my heart against the walls of expectation. I recall a young student who was learning to play the flute. He wanted to master it quickly, but every note felt awkward, every rhythm uncertain. He grew frustrated, ready to abandon the instrument. I said to him, the flute will not be mastered in a day. The river does not reach the sea in a single step. Notice each sound, each breath, each mistake. Patience is in noticing, in learning slowly, in letting the music teach you as you move. And slowly, the music began to flow, as did his heart. Patience is also about accepting the limitations of the world and the people around us. Friends may disappoint, plans may falter, life may bring unexpected challenges. When we resist, anger or sorrow takes root. But when we meet these moments with patience, we create space for understanding, for compassion, and for wisdom. I once met a man who was waiting for healing from a long illness. He wanted it to be fast, immediate, and when it was not, he despaired. I told him, healing is not a race. The body moves in rhythms we cannot control, and the mind even less so. Be patient with yourself. Notice the small improvements, the tiny joys, the moments where breath feels lighter, where the sun warms your face. In these, patience is alive. Slowly, he learned to breathe in each moment without clinging to a result. Patience is not passive. It is not laziness or avoidance. It is active, aware, alive. It requires the heart to soften, the mind to watch without grasping, the soul to trust the natural flow of life. Like waiting for the first buds in spring, it is full of expectation, yet free of tension. Even the Buddha practiced patience. He did not force understanding upon his followers. He allowed them to come at their own pace. He did not demand perfection from himself. He walked gently, noticing each step, each breath, each moment. Patience is the teacher that whispers, life is unfolding. Be here, notice, learn. I remember a small child learning to walk. She fell many times, scraped her knees, cried loudly, and yet she kept trying. Patience was not just the parent's gentle hands, but her own persistence. Each stumble was a lesson, each tear a moment of learning. Life asks us to walk in this same way. Fall, rise, breathe, and keep moving, even when the steps are uncertain. Patience allows us to notice beauty in the small things. The way light touches the leaves in the morning, the quiet song of birds, the warmth of a friend's hand, the taste of simple food. These moments pass quickly, but a heart practiced in patience receives them fully, without rushing, without worry. I once guided a young woman who was anxious about the future. Master, she said, I fear I will never be ready, never achieve what I hope for. I said, readiness is an illusion. Life is happening now. Each moment you move with care, with awareness, with patience, you prepare yourself in ways you cannot yet see. Trust the unfolding. And slowly, her shoulders relaxed, her breath deepened, and she noticed that the present was enough. Patience also teaches empathy. When we wait, we begin to understand the struggles of others. We see that everyone moves at their own pace, faces their own storms, and carries unseen burdens. We grow less judgmental, more tender, more compassionate. Even small acts of patience are powerful. Waiting without frustration in a traffic jam, listening fully to someone without interrupting, giving a child time to express themselves. These are threads that weave a heart soft and steady. Over time, these threads become a fabric of calm, a garment of peace that shields the heart from the harsh winds of life. I once met a merchant who was always impatient, always rushing, always frustrated with delays. He began to practice patience, noticing the rhythm of each day, allowing space for mistakes and pauses. Slowly, he discovered clarity, better decisions, and even joy in the daily unfolding. Patience, he realized, was not waiting. It was presence, alive and aware. Friend, notice that patience does not resist life. It flows with it. It breathes with it. It learns from it. It allows mistakes, delays, setbacks, and surprises, not as punishments, but as teachers. And in that flow, the heart opens, the mind softens, and the soul rests. Even when the heart aches, patience offers comfort. We may wait for healing, for reconciliation, for understanding, for dreams to come true. Waiting without worry is not easy, but it is transformative. With each breath, each step, each moment, patience deepens until it becomes a gentle current running through every thought, every feeling, every action. I recall an elder who said, "Patience is the river that softens the rocks of life. It carves wisdom, shapes compassion, and polishes the soul. Those who master patience master the art of living." And I have seen this truth again and again. In students, in friends, in the quiet moments of my own heart. Friend, let us practice together. Notice where impatience grips you. Breathe into it. Watch it. Understand it. And slowly, let it soften, like snow melting under the gentle sun. Move forward with care, with presence, with openness. Life will unfold as it must, and your heart, patient and tender, will receive it fully, without fear, without rush, without worry. Patience is the quiet companion that teaches us to live, truly live, in each moment. To feel, to notice, to breathe, to trust. And when the heart learns this, waiting is no longer a burden. It becomes a gift, a soft and steady rhythm in the dance of life, gentle as the morning wind, warm as the sun on your skin, tender as the touch of a hand that loves you. Letting go, freedom from the burden. Ah, my dear friend, come sit with me for a while, and let us speak quietly about letting go. You know, life has a strange way of filling our hands with things we think we need. Memories that sting, worries that cling, regrets that haunt, and expectations that weigh heavy on our hearts. And we carry these things as if they were treasures, when in truth, they are more like stones in our pockets, slowing every step. Letting go is not about forgetting or giving up. It is about realizing that our hearts were never meant to carry such weight. I remember a young man who came to me, his eyes clouded with frustration. "Master," he said, "I can't seem to let go of my past mistakes. I keep replaying them over and over in my mind, and they make me feel small, unworthy, anxious. How do I let go when it feels like a part of me?" I looked at him with quiet compassion and said, "Ah, my child, you are not your mistakes. They are like footprints in the sand, there for a moment, and then washed away by the tide. To hold on to them is to deny the flow of life. Letting go is like releasing the grip on a rope that no longer serves you. Your hands are free to reach, to create, to breathe. You see, letting go begins with awareness. We cannot release what we do not recognize. We must first notice the weight, feel the tension in our hearts, and name the things that keep us bound. Perhaps it is a fear of failure, a need for approval, a story we tell ourselves about who we are. Whatever it is, bring it into the light. Do not judge it, do not resist it, simply notice it. When you do, the first soft crack in the chain appears. I once observed a woman holding tightly to anger she carried for decades. She thought that keeping her resentment alive was her protection, a way to stay safe, to avoid being hurt again. And yet, each night she slept with a heavy heart, dreams restless, body tense. I asked her, "Do you wish to be free?" And she said, "Yes, but I don't know how." I told her, "Begin with a single breath. Feel your anger. Allow it to exist without trying to destroy it or deny it. And then, in your own time, whisper to it, 'You no longer belong here.'" Slowly, stone by stone, the burden lifts. And slowly it did. You know, many people fear letting go because they think it means losing themselves. They believe their pain, their memories, their grudges, or even their ambitions define who they are. But in truth, clinging to these things often hides our truest selves. Beneath all the weight lies a heart that is soft, open, and capable of immense peace. Letting go is the act of discovering that heart. It is the gentle uncovering of what has always been present, but buried under the clutter of attachment. Let me tell you a story of a river. The river carries water, yes, but it also carries leaves, branches, and sometimes stones. If it tries to hold on to them, the water stagnates and the river loses its vitality. Yet, when it lets go, when it allows each leaf, each branch, each stone to float freely or sink naturally, the river continues, vibrant, alive, moving toward the sea. Our hearts are like that river. The burdens we clutch do not define us, they only weigh us down. To let go is to allow the current of life to flow, to be refreshed with every breath. And yet, letting go is not always easy, my friend. It can be frightening. We fear the emptiness that follows, the unknown that waits. But emptiness is not absence. It is space, it is freedom, it is possibility. When we release what does not serve us, we make room for something new. Understanding, compassion, joy, love, and a quiet peace that does not depend on the world outside. I recall a young monk who was obsessed with controlling every outcome in his life. Every thought, every action. He believed that by holding tightly, he could avoid disappointment. But life, as it always does, had other plans. The monk's expectations were shattered, and he was left trembling. I said to him, "You cannot hold the world in your hands, for the world is like wind. You can only hold your breath, your heart, your awareness. Let go of control, and notice how your spirit breathes again." And slowly, he learned that freedom comes not from grasping but from releasing. Letting go also means forgiving, not only others but ourselves. We often carry guilt or resentment like chains, forgetting that every human being is fallible. Every heart is learning. Forgiveness is the gentle act of untangling those chains, of allowing the heart to rest. It does not excuse what has happened, but it does free the one who carries the burden. And when we forgive, even in small ways, a lightness enters the soul, a softness that invites peace. Even the Buddha taught this. He walked the earth teaching that attachment is the root of suffering, that clinging to past or future clouds the present moment. To hold on tightly is to suffer. To release is to awaken. And yet, he did not demand sudden release. He understood that letting go is a process, a patient unfolding, a learning of the heart. I remember a small child clinging to a toy, refusing to share, refusing to part. The child's grip was strong, desperate. And yet, when the child saw another's need, something within softened, and the toy was offered. The child's heart did not shrink, it grew. So it is with us. Letting go does not diminish, it expands. It creates room for love, for connection, for life to move without resistance. My dear friend, notice that letting go is not a single act. It is 1,000 small breaths, 1,000 moments of choosing freedom over fear, trust over control. Each day, notice where you are holding too tightly, perhaps a thought, a memory, a resentment, a desire. And with gentleness, begin to release. You may stumble, you may cling again, and that is natural. Letting go is a practice, a dance of the heart, not a one-time event. I recall an elder who said, "To hold on to anger is to drink poison and expect the other to suffer. To hold on to fear is to chain your own spirit. To hold on to the past is to deny the present." Freedom comes when you let go, and I have seen this truth again and again in the eyes of those who have learned to release. They breathe differently, they walk differently, they live differently. Letting go is also about trust. Trust in life, trust in the unfolding of events, trust in the wisdom that exists beyond our understanding. We do not need to control, we do not need to fix, we do not need to cling. We simply allow. We release our fists and open our palms, not to nothing, but to possibility, to presence, to peace. I remember a time when I watched the autumn leaves fall. Each leaf let go of the branch without resistance. Some swirled gracefully, some tumbled chaotically, yet all found the earth in their own time. Watching this, I realized that our lives mirror these leaves. The beauty is in the release, in the surrender, in the trust that even in letting go, there is a gentle landing, a place of rest. Friend, see that letting go is not weakness. It is strength. It is courage to face the unknown with an open heart. It is wisdom to understand what is within our control and what is not. It is tenderness to offer oneself mercy, compassion, and peace. The heart that lets go is the heart that truly lives. And so, as you walk through your days, notice what you clutch unnecessarily. Perhaps an old grudge, a memory of hurt, a desire unfulfilled, or a fear of loss. Take a breath and gently release. Feel the shoulders relax, the chest expand, the heart soften. Notice how the world does not end, but how the world suddenly seems more alive, more possible, more gentle. Even when life is difficult, even when loss or disappointment arrives, letting go provides a shelter, a quiet, tender space within where peace lives. We cannot always choose the winds that blow, but we can loosen our grip on the rope, open our hands, and allow ourselves to move with the current. In this, there is freedom. In this, there is life. And in this, there is the quiet, enduring joy that no circumstance can take away. Embracing the flow of life. Ah, my dear friend, come closer and sit for a moment. Let us speak about something very simple, yet so easily forgotten. How life flows, always moving, never pausing, whether we are ready or not. You see, so often, we resist the current, struggling against the natural course of things, thinking that if we pull hard enough, push hard enough, we can control where life takes us. And yet, like a leaf on a river, the more we resist, the more we tire, the more we miss the gentle rhythm that carries everything. I remember a man who came to me, his face weary, eyes clouded with worry. "Master," he said, "I feel trapped. Life is moving around me so fast, and I cannot keep up. Every step I take, it feels like I'm falling behind. How can I live without being swallowed by this flow?" I looked at him with a soft smile and said, "Ah, my child, the river does not rush, it does not slow, it simply flows. You are not meant to fight it. You are meant to move with it." Notice, the leaf does not demand, it does not question, it simply floats. Embracing the flow begins with awareness. It begins when you pause for a breath, just one long, slow breath, and feel the pulse of the world around you. The birds, the wind, the soft rustle of trees, the warmth of the sun. Life is moving all around, in and out, in rhythms we cannot control. And yet, if we attune ourselves, we can begin to understand its gentle guidance. When you feel rushed, stop. When you feel afraid, breathe. When you feel uncertain, simply notice. In noticing, we begin to join the rhythm instead of resisting it. I once guided a young woman who was constantly trying to plan every detail of her life, thinking control would bring safety. She kept lists, schedules, reminders, and yet each day ended with exhaustion and disappointment. I said to her, "Do you notice the sky today? It does not plan where the clouds will go, yet the sky is complete. The river does not hold back its waters, yet it reaches the sea. You are part of this flow. Stop pulling so hard against it, and see how life begins to open its hands to you." Slowly, she began to let small things go, appointments, worries, expectations, and she discovered a softness, a spaciousness she had never known. The flow of life is not just outside of us, my friend. It is also inside. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, moments appear and fade. When we try to control every thought, every feeling, every moment, we exhaust ourselves. But when we allow them to rise and fall naturally, when we embrace the ebb and flow of our own hearts, we experience a gentle freedom. The storm inside quiets, and a tender peace arises, not forced, not demanded, but simply present. I remember a child playing by the river, laughing as the water splashed around her small feet. She did not think about tomorrow, yesterday, or even what would happen next. She simply moved with the water, letting it carry her laughter, letting it teach her about rhythm and play. There is a lesson in this simplicity. We do not need to control the river to enjoy it. We do not need to command the flow to move with grace. We simply need to be present, to move with what is given, to trust in the gentle unfolding. Many people fear the flow because it is unpredictable. They believe that surrendering to it means losing themselves, losing safety, losing control. But in truth, resisting the flow is what causes suffering. It is the tight grip, the clenched fists, the insistence that life should move according to our plan that brings pain. When we learn to loosen our hands, soften our hearts, and allow life to move as it will, we find that we are not lost. We are supported, held by something larger than our fears, larger than our expectations. I recall a man who had lost everything: work, home, family. He came to me, broken, bitter, afraid. And yet, day by day, as he sat quietly by the river, as he observed leaves falling, water running, clouds drifting, he began to understand. Life was moving, yes, and he could move with it, or he could resist and suffer. He chose to move. He began to work with what he had, to trust in what came, and slowly, the pieces of his life began to shift. Not everything returned, not everything was fixed, but he found a rhythm, a gentle trust that carried him forward, moment by moment. Embracing the flow is also about letting go of rigid expectations. We often hold tightly to how things should be. A plan, an outcome, an idea of how life will unfold. And yet, life is not a straight line. It is a river, winding, turning, full of surprises, full of lessons. When we expect life to be fixed, we are always disappointed. But when we accept its flow, even the twists and turns, even the unexpected floods, we find a new kind of joy. A joy not dependent on results, but on presence, on participation in the dance of life. Even in sorrow, even in hardship, there is flow. Pain, loss, grief, fear. They are all part of the river. They cannot be avoided. And yet, they do not last forever, any more than the rain lasts all day. They pass, they change, they move. To embrace the flow is to allow even the hardest experiences to wash through us, to learn from them, to feel them fully without resistance. In doing so, we discover that sorrow does not destroy us. It teaches us, it softens us, it opens the heart. I remember teaching a group of monks about the river, about the wind, about the seasons. I told them, if you hold too tightly to summer, you will suffer when winter comes. If you cling to the calm water, you will drown in the storm. Life moves. You cannot stop it. You cannot bend it entirely to your will. The way of wisdom is to move with it, to flow with it, to notice, to adapt, to participate, without fear, without clinging. And they began to understand slowly, in their own time, how movement and stillness coexist, how surrender is not weakness but a kind of strength. Friend, notice how often we resist small flows, traffic, schedules, minor frustrations. In these moments, we practice. We practice letting go of control, practicing patience, practicing acceptance. Each small act of surrender prepares us for the larger currents, the deeper challenges, the vast mysteries of life. The river is teaching us every day. If we listen, if we notice, if we move gently, even our bodies follow the flow. Breath comes and goes. The heart beats, blood moves. We cannot force it, yet we can be aware of it. To sit quietly, to feel the flow of life inside us, is to align ourselves with the river of the world. The body, the mind, the heart, they are all part of the same movement. We can resist, or we can move gracefully, allowing each moment to teach us its rhythm. And so, my dear friend, I encourage you to notice the flow around you and within you. When worry comes, let it drift by like a cloud. When joy arrives, let it fill you fully without clinging. When fear arises, notice it, breathe, and allow it to pass. Each moment is a teacher, each experience a guide. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a river to be navigated with awareness, with patience, with gentle surrender. We learn from every leaf that falls, every raindrop that lands, every breeze that stirs. Life is always moving. It does not stop for us, nor should we demand that it does. Our task is to flow with it, to notice, to soften, to embrace. In this, there is freedom. In this, there is peace. In this, there is the quiet joy of being fully alive, fully present, fully part of the endless, tender current of existence. Letting go of resistance. Ah, my friend, sit with me for a while. Let us speak quietly, in a way that perhaps your heart has been waiting for, but did not know how to ask. Life, you see, often brings moments that we do not wish to face. Moments that sting, that challenge, that make us question everything we thought we knew. And in these moments, most people do one thing. They resist. They push, they pull, they fight with life itself. But resistance, my dear, is a heavy burden, and the weight of it grows the more we struggle. I remember a young man who came to me years ago, carrying grief in his eyes and a storm in his heart. "Master," he said, "why does life treat me so unfairly? I try to be good, to do right, to plan carefully, yet everything crumbles." I looked at him gently and said, "Ah, my child, do you see the bamboo in the wind? When the storm comes, it bends. When the storm passes, it stands upright again. If it resists, it breaks. Life is the same. Resist too much, and you fracture your spirit. You see, resistance begins in the mind. We resist because we want control, because we fear uncertainty, because we cling to what we think life should be. Yet, life is not a task to be completed or a puzzle to be solved. It is a river, flowing in its own mysterious way. And when we fight against the current, We only tire ourselves, we only create suffering. I tell my students often, to resist is to tighten your hands around nothing and expect it to become solid. Let your hands open, let your heart soften, and see what life brings freely. I recall a woman who held tightly to her past mistakes. Every day, she carried a bag full of regret, replaying moments over and over, wishing they were different. Her heart ached, and her body felt older than her years. One morning, I asked her to sit with me by the river and simply watch the water flow. Do you see how the water moves? I asked. It does not cling to what passed. It does not resist the stones in its path, yet it reaches its destination. So must your heart move. Slowly, day by day, she began to release her grip. She began to notice the subtle light in her days, the small kindnesses, the laughter that still existed. Resistance also takes many forms. Sometimes it is anger, angry at the world, at others, at ourselves. Sometimes it is worry, spinning endlessly about what might happen. Sometimes it is fear, a tight knot in the chest that whispers, if you let go, everything will fall apart. And yet, the very act of resisting, of holding on so tightly, is what causes the falling, the breaking, the suffering. To let go is not to surrender to weakness. It is to choose wisely where to place your energy, where to place your heart. I once walked with an elderly monk along a quiet path in the mountains. He paused by a fallen branch and said, "See this? It resisted the storm, clung to its place, and now it is broken." Life does not punish, it teaches. Resistance teaches nothing but pain. I asked him, "But how do we let go of fear, of sorrow, of anger?" He smiled softly, his eyes like calm water. Notice, feel, breathe. Allow it to pass through you like a cloud moving across the sky. Do not chase it, do not trap it, do not fight it. In this letting go, the heart becomes free. Many people believe that letting go means forgetting, abandoning, or giving up. But true letting go is different. It is an act of awareness, a choice to no longer fight what is inevitable, a practice of gentleness toward oneself. When you let go, you do not erase the experience. You honor it, learn from it, and allow it to move through you without taking root as suffering. Like the river that carries leaves downstream, life moves all things, and we are invited to move with it, not against it. I remember teaching a small group about the storms of life. You will face them, I said, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. You cannot stop them. You cannot command them. You cannot force the wind to calm. What you can do is bend, breathe, and allow the storm to pass through your being without breaking you. There is strength in surrender, not weakness. One by one, the students nodded, beginning to feel the truth of it deep inside their bones. Resistance is also subtle. It is in the constant mental chatter, the what-ifs, the imagining of worst-case scenarios. It is in the tight jaw, the clenched fists, the restless sleep. Many people do not notice it until it manifests in exhaustion, in anxiety, in a heart that feels too heavy to carry. I often ask my students, "Where in your body do you hold the fight?" And they begin to notice. The shoulders stiff, the stomach knotted, the chest aching. Awareness is the first step toward letting go. And so we practice every day in small ways. When traffic slows, instead of gritting teeth, we notice our breath. When someone speaks harshly, instead of reacting, we observe our reaction and allow it to dissolve. When we face uncertainty, we sit quietly, feel our hearts beating, and acknowledge that life is moving whether we resist or not. In this practice, we slowly train ourselves to let go of the need to control, to plan, to force. I once met a man who lost everything he had worked for. He came to me, defeated, unable to see a path forward. And yet, when he learned to let go, to stop resisting the current of his life, small doors began to open. Opportunities arose, kindness returned, and slowly, he found himself alive again. Not because life had changed, but because he had learned to move with it. The burden of resistance had lifted, and with it, the heart had room to breathe. Even in moments of joy, letting go is important. We may cling to happiness, fearing it will disappear, or we may resist good fortune, fearing responsibility. Yet, true peace is found when we enjoy fully, without grasping, without clutching, without fear. Letting go does not mean losing. It means being fully present, fully alive, fully engaged with the moment, whether it brings joy, sorrow, challenge, or calm. I recall a river I visited long ago. In the dry season, its waters were low, shallow, almost hesitant. In the monsoon, it roared, overflowing its banks. And yet, the river was always itself. It did not fight its course. It did not resist the rain, the stones, the banks. It flowed, and those who observed it closely learned something profound. To move with life is to honor it, to trust it, to surrender without fear, to open the hands and the heart. Letting go is a lifelong practice, my dear friend. There is no final moment where resistance is gone forever. There are only moments of awareness, moments of choice, moments where we remember to bend like the bamboo, to float like the leaf, to allow life to pass through us without clinging. And in these moments, a quiet peace emerges, a lightness of being, a gentle joy that does not demand, does not push, does not control. Life is always teaching us, always guiding us, always moving. We cannot stop it. We cannot fully know it. And yet, if we practice letting go, we find that we are not lost. We are supported. We are carried. We are held by the river of existence itself. Resistance fades, softness emerges, and the heart, once heavy, becomes free to experience life in its vast, tender, unfolding beauty. Embracing the present moment. Ah, my dear friend, come, sit beside me. Let us breathe together and simply be, without rushing, without thinking of what comes next, without clinging to what is past. There is a gentle magic in this very moment, a quiet teaching that whispers if only we stop for a while and listen. Most people live their lives either trapped in memories that hurt, or in fears about the future that may never arrive. And in this, they miss the richness of the present, the soft, tender life that unfolds around them even as they worry. I recall a young woman who came to me, her eyes filled with unease. She told me, "Master, I cannot enjoy anything. I am always thinking about what I should do next, what went wrong before, what may go wrong tomorrow." I smiled gently and said, "Ah, you are a traveler carrying a heavy pack of stones, yet the path beneath your feet is soft, green, and full of light. If you do not set down the pack, you will never see the path." And so, we began to practice small steps, noticing the moment of each breath, the sound of the wind in the trees, the warmth of the sun on her hands. Slowly, she began to realize how often she had missed the beauty of her own life by chasing what was not here. The present moment is like a river flowing quietly, carrying with it leaves, twigs, and memories. It moves swiftly, yet we often ignore it, trying to hold on to water that is already gone or grasping at currents that have not yet arrived. I tell my students, you cannot touch the water that is past. You cannot command the water that is coming. Only this instant, right here, can you feel. Only this instant can you rest. Only this instant is alive. Many people ask me, "But Master, how do I live in the present when life is so chaotic, when responsibilities pull me, when pain surrounds me?" And I say, begin small. Notice the breath. Notice the feeling of your feet on the ground. Notice the taste of your food, the warmth of your tea, the sound of a bird in the morning. In these small observances, the present grows. You practice awareness, and slowly, the heart learns to dwell here, not elsewhere. I once walked with an elderly man along a quiet mountain path. He moved slowly, but his eyes were alive, watching every leaf, every stone, every glimmer of light on the rocks. I asked him, "Why do you walk so slowly?" He laughed softly, a deep, resonant sound, and said, "If I walk quickly, I miss everything. Life is not a race to be won, but a gift to be unfolded. Each step is a prayer, each breath a song. The present is all I have, and I will not let it slip." His words stayed with me, a reminder that the present is not a place to hurry through, but a sacred space to inhabit. Embracing the present moment is not always easy. The mind resists. It wants to plan, to worry, to judge. But notice this: resistance always brings suffering, while presence always brings clarity and peace. I often guide my students to imagine that every thought of past regret or future fear is a leaf floating on a river. They watch it, they acknowledge it, and then they let it go. They do not chase it, they do not clutch it, they simply return to the river flowing beneath their feet. The present moment. There was a time when a young monk struggled with anger. He could not let go of a harsh word someone had spoken to him. Each day he carried it in his heart, turning it over, twisting it, allowing it to grow. I said to him, "Your anger lives in the past. It does not exist now unless you feed it. Can you notice the present moment without the shadow of what was?" He paused, then slowly, day by day, he learned to breathe into the now, to feel the cool air, the warmth of the sun, the sensation of walking without judgment. In this, he found liberation. Even joy is sweeter when embraced in the present. People often cling to happiness, fearing its end, or they postpone their joy until a future achievement or moment arrives. But joy is not in the future. It is here now, in the simple smile of a friend, in the laughter of a child, in the scent of rain on dry earth. I tell my students, do not chase happiness. Do not wait for it. Sit with it, sip it, breathe it. Let it fill you without grasping. There is a story of a fisherman I once knew. He would rise before dawn and walk to the river, casting his net with care and patience. He did not rush. He did not fret about the fish that were not yet in the net, nor about what would come after. He simply observed the river, felt the wind, noticed the flight of birds, and moved with gentle attention. He often said, "The fish will come. If I am present, I see them. If I am absent, I see nothing." In his quiet mindfulness, he taught a profound lesson. The present moment is where life truly lives. Even in pain and hardship, presence is a refuge. When we face illness, loss, or uncertainty, the present moment is a shelter, a place where we can feel our heart beating, our breath moving, our body alive. I have told my students, pain is part of life, yes, but it is only unbearable when you live in the past or the future. Touch this moment, feel it fully, and the pain becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. Many people think living in the present means ignoring responsibilities or neglecting the future. This is a misunderstanding. Presence is not escape. It is clarity. When you are truly present, you act with attention, kindness, and wisdom. Decisions are clearer, relationships are deeper, and life flows more smoothly because you are not scattered across moments that do not exist. The present is the canvas upon which all choices and actions are painted. I recall a student who was always anxious about his career. He worried endlessly about promotions, about success, about recognition. One day, I asked him to spend an hour walking quietly, noticing every sound, every movement, every sensation, without thinking of what comes next. At first, he fidgeted, his mind racing. But slowly, as the hour passed, he began to notice the subtle beauty in ordinary things. The hum of insects, the swaying of trees, the play of sunlight on a wall. When he returned, he smiled and said, "I feel lighter." And in that lightness, he discovered a deeper wisdom. Life unfolds best when we are fully here, fully awake, fully present. Presence is also about compassion, toward ourselves and toward others. When we are truly present, we can see the subtle needs of those around us, the small gestures that matter, the quiet suffering that might otherwise be overlooked. I often remind my students, to be present is to be aware, to be kind, to be gentle. Only in presence can love be authentic. Only in presence can care be real. There is no ultimate perfection in being present. Some days, the mind wanders endlessly. Some days, the heart feels heavy. And yet, every time you return to the now, every time you notice your breath, your footsteps, your surroundings, you practice the art of presence. It is like tending a garden. Some days the flowers bloom abundantly. Some days the weeds grow back. Yet with gentle attention, the garden flourishes. I have watched countless students grow in this practice. Those who once feared silence now cherish it. Those who once rushed through meals now savor every bite. Those who once fretted over trivialities now find themselves smiling at the morning light. The present moment, once embraced, transforms life from a series of anxious events into a flowing, luminous experience. My friend, remember, the past is a story, the future a dream, but this moment, the one you breathe in now, is alive. Let it fill you, teach you, guide you. Sit with it, walk with it, eat with it, speak with it. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, your heart learns a quiet joy, a deep peace, a tender gratitude that no one can take away. The present is not a place to fear. It is a sanctuary to enter. The dance of change. My dear friend, come sit close, and let us speak quietly about something that touches all our lives, whether we notice it or not. Change. Do you ever feel that life is moving too fast, that the world shifts under your feet, and you cannot keep up? I have watched many travelers of this path, carrying their fears like heavy stones, afraid that if they let go, everything will fall apart. And yet, the truth is gentle, soft, and simple. Life is always changing, like water in a stream, like clouds drifting across the sky, like the seasons that come and go without pause. I remember a young man who came to me, his face lined with worry. He said, "Master, everything around me is changing, and I cannot hold on. My friends, my work, even my own heart seems different every day. I feel lost." I nodded, understanding more than words could say, and told him, You see the river rushing, and you try to stop it. But the river does not stop, and neither does life. Change is not your enemy. It is the gentle teacher guiding you forward. Can you learn to flow with it, rather than fight it? At first, he did not understand. We walked slowly through the forest, noticing the trees, the wind, the falling leaves. "See this leaf?" I said. "It once grew green. It lived its season, and now it falls. It does not fight. It does not cling, and yet it completes its purpose. In change, there is beauty. In impermanence, there is meaning." He looked at me, eyes wide, as if something inside him began to shift. Slowly, the tension in his shoulders eased, and he began to see change not as a thief, but as a companion. Change is often frightening because we tie our sense of self to what is familiar. We resist it, hoping the world will stay the same. hoping the pain will not touch us, hoping that joy will remain forever. But life is a dance, and the music never stops. Sometimes the steps are gentle, sometimes they are sharp, sometimes we stumble, sometimes we spin gracefully. If we resist, we stumble more. If we surrender to the rhythm, we move with ease, even when the steps are unfamiliar. I have seen a mother sit by the bedside of her child, worried about the future, about the illnesses, the challenges, the unknown path ahead. She clutched tightly, wanting everything to remain safe, to remain perfect. And yet, in the quiet moments, when she let go of control, when she breathed and simply observed, she saw her child smile, saw the light in his eyes, saw the small wonders that change had brought. It was in that release, in that surrender to the flow, that she discovered peace. People often think that change is only in grand moments. Moving to a new city, losing a loved one, starting a new job. But the truth is, change whispers in every moment. In the shifting shadows, in the breeze that moves your hair, in the laughter of friends, in the sadness that comes unexpectedly. To resist it is to resist life itself. To accept it is to find freedom. There was a monk who once told me, "Master, I fear the future. I do not know who I will become, and it frightens me." I asked him to follow me to the river. We watched the water move around rocks, bend around fallen branches, disappear into pools, and continue downstream. "Do you see?" I asked. The river does not fight the stones, nor does it cling to the banks. It moves, it adapts, it keeps flowing. So too must we. We do not lose ourselves in change. We discover ourselves in it. Even our thoughts and feelings are in constant change. Anger rises, joy blooms, sorrow visits, hope lingers. To resist these changes in the heart is to create suffering. But when we observe them with gentle awareness, we see the impermanence of each emotion, the fleeting nature of each thought. And in that seeing, we find freedom, because we are no longer slaves to the shifting tides inside us. I remember a woman who carried grief for many years, unable to release the memory of a lost love. Each day, she felt trapped in the shadow of the past. Slowly, through patience and presence, she began to notice the small changes within herself. A smile returned, a new curiosity emerged, a friendship blossomed. Change had not taken away her love. It had transformed it into something new, something gentle, something that could coexist with life's ongoing flow. Change is also a mirror for gratitude. We often forget to appreciate what we have because we are waiting for what comes next, or lamenting what is gone. But each moment, in its impermanence, reminds us, this is precious, this is fleeting, this is alive. I tell my students, when you see that every breath, every sunrise, every smile is temporary, you begin to hold it lightly, yet fully. You learn to treasure without clinging, to love without fear, to live without grasping. There are times when change brings endings, and endings are difficult. We resist, we grieve, we question the fairness of life. And yet, endings are also beginnings. A fallen leaf nourishes the soil for new growth. A finished season prepares the earth for spring. A closed door opens another, sometimes in ways we cannot yet imagine. To embrace change is to embrace the cycle of life, to move with its rhythm rather than against it. I have seen communities rebuilt after great loss, friendships reborn after years of silence, individuals transformed through trials they never wished for. And always, at the heart of transformation is acceptance. The simple recognition that change is constant, that it cannot be controlled, that it can be welcomed with courage and open hands. The art of embracing change is learned in small moments. Notice the impermanence of a flower, the shifting patterns of clouds, the passing expressions on a loved one's face. Practice letting go of minor irritations, of small attachments, of fleeting disappointments. Each time you release, you strengthen the heart for larger currents. The stream grows stronger as it flows, and so too does your spirit as you learn to move with life. Even joy is enhanced by change, because we know that moments are transient. The laughter of a child, the warmth of sunlight, the gentle touch of a friend become infinitely more beautiful. When we resist, we miss the subtle richness. When we flow, we find delight in each unfolding instant. Remember, my friend, that change is not something to fear, it is something to cherish. It teaches patience, humility, compassion, and wisdom. It reminds us that life is a dance, that every step matters, that every moment is an opportunity to move with grace. When you embrace change fully, you discover a depth of peace, a gentle resilience, a joy that no loss can take away. And so, whenever fear arises, whenever the mind wants to cling, return to your breath. Observe the river, the leaf, the cloud. Notice how life flows. Notice how you are part of it. Notice how impermanence is the teacher you never asked for but always needed. In this gentle dance, in this constant movement, you find freedom, clarity, and a quiet happiness that lives beyond time. Ah, my friend, let the river of life move through you. Let the seasons touch your heart. Let the impermanence teach you love, patience, and courage. In the dance of change, you are never alone. You are alive, you are learning, and you are whole. The quiet strength of patience. Ah, my dear friend, come sit with me a while. Let us speak softly about patience, a companion of the heart that many seek, but few truly understand. You see, patience is not simply waiting. It is living fully in the moment while the world unfolds at its own pace. So often, I have seen people hurry, rushing from one thought to the next, from one task to another, never pausing, never noticing the subtle flow of life. They want everything now, answers, success, happiness. But life, like the soil, takes its own time to nurture the seeds we plant. I remember a young boy who once came to me, frowning, restless. "Master," he said, "I want to be wise quickly. I want to understand life. I want to be happy. I want to be free from worry. But it is all so slow, and I grow impatient." I smiled gently, for I had been that boy too, in another time, under another sky. "Ah," I said, "you wish to drink the river all at once, but the river flows in its own rhythm. Can you sit by its edge and simply watch it move? Can you notice each ripple, each stone it passes, each leaf it carries downstream? In patience, the river teaches you the secret of life. Patience is like a tree. When you plant a seed, you water it, you protect it, you nurture it, and yet the tree does not sprout immediately. Days pass, months pass, perhaps years, and still the seed lies quietly in the earth. But beneath the soil, unseen, the roots grow, the energy gathers, and when the time is right, the tree emerges strong and steady. We too grow like this, unseen, in silence, in the moments we consider small and unimportant. It is in patience that the roots of our strength deepen. There was once a man burdened by loss. He had suffered greatly, and his heart felt cracked, raw, and heavy. He wanted the pain to leave him immediately, but grief does not follow the orders of our mind. So he came to me, asking for a remedy, a way to heal quickly. I asked him to walk with me in the morning mist, to feel the damp earth under his feet, to listen to the distant birds calling. "Do you hear the forest?" I asked. It does not rush its healing. It does not demand its own time. It simply grows, quietly, steadily, through sun and rain, through night and day. your heart too can heal, if you allow it the gentle patience of nature. Patience does not mean passivity, as some believe. It does not mean to sit idly while life passes by. No, patience is active, aware, and present. It is a deep listening, a careful tending, a mindful holding of the moment. I have taught many students to breathe with patience, to notice the rise and fall of each breath, to recognize the subtle rhythms of their own hearts. In this quiet observation, they learn to wait, to endure, to understand, and to trust that time itself carries them toward what they need. There was a woman in the village, anxious and hurried. She tried to grow her garden too quickly, watering it too much, pushing the plants to bloom before they were ready. And so the seedlings withered, and she despaired. I said to her, "See, the earth cannot be rushed. Every plant has its own season, its own time. Your care is good, but patience is the sunlight and water that nourish growth, not your hurry. Learn to let go of the urge to control, and the garden will reward you with beauty." Life often tests our patience in ways we do not expect. Waiting for a letter, waiting for a decision, waiting for health, waiting for love. These moments seem long, stretching endlessly. And yet, within the waiting, there is a richness often overlooked. I tell my students, the moments you consider empty are filled with lessons. The silence of waiting is not wasted. It is a teacher. In patience, you discover the quiet strength that cannot be shaken by haste or loss. Even in the face of difficulty, patience teaches resilience. I remember a monk who was learning to meditate. At first, his mind raced like a stormy sea, restless, unquiet. He wanted calm, peace, stillness immediately. I asked him to sit by the pond and watch the koi swim slowly, turning and gliding without rush. "See them?" I said. "They move with the water, not against it." Your mind too can learn to flow with patience. Do not demand calmness. Do not chase it. Simply be present, simply observe, and it will come. Patience also teaches compassion. When we are impatient, we judge ourselves harshly, we scold others, we cling to outcomes. But with patience, we learn to see the struggles of others, to understand their pace, to walk gently beside them. I have seen families torn by anger and misunderstanding slowly rebuild their bonds through the soft power of patience, through listening without interruption, through waiting with kindness for each heart to open in its own time. The world often tempts us with instant gratification, with shortcuts, with promises that everything can be obtained immediately. But these are illusions, my friend. True growth, true understanding, true peace, all take time. Patience is the quiet courage to remain present, the gentle wisdom to trust the unfolding, the steady love that endures through trials. It is not a weakness. It is the strength of rivers that carve valleys, of mountains that endure centuries, of trees that shelter countless generations. Even joy requires patience. The laughter of children, the blossoming of friendship, the slow unfolding of understanding. All are sweeter because they take time. If we rush them, if we push, we miss the richness of their growth. I tell my students, happiness is not a prize to seize. It is a flower to nurture. You water it with attention. You tend it with care. You allow it the gentle patience of the seasons. And then, when it blooms, it fills your heart beyond measure. Sometimes we fail at patience, and that is human. We become frustrated. We feel time slipping through our fingers. We cry for what seems lost. But even these failures are lessons. They remind us of our humanity, of our need to breathe, to observe, to return gently to the path. Each moment we practice patience, even after impatience, is a victory. Each time we choose to wait, to listen, to endure, we strengthen our heart, and our spirit grows more resilient. Patience is also the key to understanding impermanence. We see things changing, people coming and going, joys appearing and fading, and we feel urgency, sadness, fear. But patience teaches that each moment, each experience, is complete in itself, that nothing is wasted, that everything is a part of the flowing river of life. It softens our grip on attachment, it eases our longing, it opens space for gratitude and wonder. I remember a student who could not endure waiting for clarity. He wanted answers, he wanted insight, he wanted certainty. I asked him to spend a week sitting in quiet reflection, observing the small details of his daily life. The changing light, the hum of insects, the rhythm of his own breath. By the end of the week, he said, "Master, I see now. Waiting is not empty. It is full of life, full of learning, full of growth." And in that moment, he had discovered patience. Patience is not about avoidance, nor about denial. It is about presence, awareness, and trust. It is about loving the journey without clinging to the outcome. About seeing beauty in the unfolding rather than in the completed picture. About walking slowly, gently, fully awake in each moment. Ah, my dear friend, in the quiet strength of patience, you will find peace that cannot be hurried, wisdom that cannot be forced, and love that flows steadily without end. Let your heart learn the gentle rhythm of waiting, the soft music of time, the calm power of simply being. In this practice, in this mindful patience, you discover the depth of life, the richness of the present, and the enduring joy that lives quietly within you, embracing the flow of change. Ah, my dear friend, let us sit together beneath the shade of this old tree, for today we speak about change. You see, change is like the wind, invisible yet powerful, gentle yet relentless. Some people fear it, some resist it, trying to hold on to what was, as if clinging to the past could stop the seasons from turning. But the truth, as I have seen in many lives and in many quiet moments of the forest, is that change is not something to fight. It is a companion, a teacher, a force that carries us forward, whether we like it or not. I remember once a young man, full of worry and confusion, came to me. He said, "Master, everything around me is changing. My friends, my work, even my own feelings. I do not know who I am anymore. I feel lost." I looked at him, and I did not speak at first. Instead, I took him to the river that runs behind the monastery. We watched the water, moving endlessly, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. "Do you see this river?" I asked. "It does not struggle against the rocks. It does not beg the current to stop. It flows, and in its flowing, it shapes the land, it nourishes the trees, it reflects the sky. Change, like this river, flows through your life. To resist it is to drown in your own fear. To embrace it is to move with life. Change can be gentle, like the turning of a leaf, and sometimes it comes like a storm, uprooting what we thought was steady. I have seen families and villages face great shifts, the loss of loved ones, the arrival of strangers, the sudden turns of fortune. In all of this, the lesson remains. Resistance brings suffering, acceptance brings clarity. To embrace change is not to give up. It is to open your heart to the natural rhythm of existence. I once had a student, a young woman, who clung to her plans tightly. She had mapped out every step of her life. Her education, her work, her marriage, her home. And yet, life unfolded differently. Opportunities vanished, relationships shifted, health wavered. She was furious, confused, and wept often. One morning, I asked her to walk barefoot in the garden, to feel the earth beneath her feet, to notice the flowers blooming in their own time. the breeze moving freely through the branches. "Do you see," I said, "how each flower does not resist the seasons, how the wind does not ask permission to blow? Life too moves in its own rhythm. Let go of the rigid plan, and you will feel the flow of possibility." Change teaches us humility. It reminds us that we are not the center of the universe, that control is often an illusion. I have known many who believed they could bend life to their will, only to find themselves humbled by unexpected turns. Illness, loss, betrayal, or even a sudden joy that disrupts comfort. In these moments, we discover that life is greater than our intentions, and surrendering to its flow is not weakness but wisdom. And yet, embracing change is not passive. It is a delicate balance of awareness and action. I often tell my students, do not wait for life to sweep you along blindly. Notice the currents, feel their strength, and choose when to move, when to pause, when to step lightly, and when to dive deep. Life's changes are invitations, not punishments. I have seen people transform when they learn to dance with change, rather than wrestle with it, finding new strength in flexibility, new insight in unpredictability, new beauty in the unfamiliar. There is a story of a bamboo tree, one I often share. The bamboo seed is planted, watered, and cared for years, yet it does not break the soil quickly. The gardener might think all effort is wasted, but then at the right moment, the bamboo shoots up rapidly, growing taller than the eye can follow, because its roots have been quietly growing beneath the earth, preparing, strengthening, gathering the unseen energy. Life's changes are much like this. Sometimes it seems nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, the work is being done, the roots are spreading, preparing us for what comes next. We often cling to familiarity because it feels safe, even when it brings stagnation or sorrow. But change carries life, vitality, and learning. I remember an elder monk, very wise, who once told me, "To resist change is to deny your own breath. To embrace it is to inhale deeply, fully, without fear." And I have walked that truth many times. The first time I lost something I loved, the first time a friend betrayed me, the first time I found joy where I least expected it. Every twist and turn taught me, shaped me, opened me to the vastness of life. Even when change brings loss, it brings gift. Pain and grief are teachers, as much as joy and laughter. I have seen students break down, only to rebuild stronger, kinder, more aware. One man wept for years over his lost home, yet in his sorrow, he found connection with neighbors, with strangers, with the earth itself. Change had forced him to open, to let go, to feel deeply, and in that deep feeling, he discovered resilience. Life's changes are also subtle. A single smile, a moment of understanding, a quiet gesture of kindness. These shifts, small as they seem, can transform the course of a day, a relationship, a life. The world is not only changed by dramatic events, but by these small currents, like tiny streams feeding a river. I tell my students, do not underestimate the power of small changes. One step, one thought, one breath at a time can shape your life. And so, my dear friend, I ask you to look inward. What changes are you resisting? What flows are you trying to stop? Notice your own heart and mind, the tension, the fear, the clinging. And then take a slow breath and imagine yourself as the river, as the bamboo, as the wind moving freely. Let yourself flow with life, without forcing, without grasping, without fear. Notice how your shoulders relax, your mind softens, your heart opens. In this gentle embrace, you find strength, clarity, and peace. Change is the very essence of life, yet it is also its teacher, its companion, its secret friend. To embrace it is to live fully, to accept fully, to be fully present. Each moment is an invitation, each shift a lesson, each ending a beginning. And in this dance with the ever-changing river of existence, we discover who we truly are. Not fixed, not rigid, not bound, but alive, flexible, and beautifully human. Even when the world seems chaotic, even when nothing remains as it was, the wise heart smiles quietly, for it knows that each change carries the seeds of new growth, new understanding, and new joy. The tree bends with the wind, the river flows around the stone, the bamboo rises silently. And so too can we, if we only open ourselves to the flow, if we only learn to breathe with life, if we only trust the quiet wisdom of change. Ah, my friend, let this understanding settle within you. Let your heart learn to move gracefully with the currents, to see the hidden gifts in every turn, and to rest gently in the knowledge that life, in all its endless changes, is always leading you home. The wisdom of stillness. Ah, my dear friend, come, sit with me beneath this old pine, where the sun filters softly through the needles and the air carries the quiet hum of life. Today, we speak of stillness. You know, most people think stillness is nothing, just empty space, a pause, a kind of laziness. But it is not so. Stillness is the secret river that flows beneath all our noise, beneath our rushing thoughts, beneath our endless chatter. It is not absence, it is presence, and it holds more wisdom than all the books and words ever written. I remember once a young monk, full of curiosity and impatience, coming to me with worry. He said, "Master, I feel restless. My mind never stops. I want to understand life, to see the truth, but I cannot find it. I try to meditate, I try to read, I try to pray, but my thoughts keep spinning. What should I do?" I smiled gently, and I did not answer immediately. Instead, I took him to the courtyard, and we sat there quietly, without speaking, without moving. The wind whispered, the leaves trembled, a bird landed on a branch above us, and then, slowly, I said, "Do you see? All these things happen without effort. The bird does not ask, the wind does not force, the leaf does not struggle. Yet, everything exists fully, entirely, completely. In this quiet, in this stillness, life reveals itself. Your mind has only been too busy to notice. Stillness is not merely sitting quietly. It is a way of being, a quality of heart and mind. Many believe they must do, to think, to plan, to fix, to achieve. But all the while, they miss the gentle truths whispering right in front of them. I often tell my students, do not confuse noise with life. Life is here, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every pause between one thought and the next. When we learn to enter stillness, we begin to see clearly. The mind unclutters, the heart softens, and the world, in its vast complexity, becomes simpler, more understandable, more intimate. I recall a time long ago, when the monastery was quiet and the snow lay thick upon the ground. One evening, a traveler arrived, tired and anxious. He carried with him a burden of many worries, fear of the unknown, and grief for what he had lost. He asked me, "Master, how do I find peace? My life is full of sorrow, confusion, and endless noise. How can I rest?" I asked him to follow me to the frozen pond, where the ice was clear and smooth. We knelt beside it, and I said, "Look into the ice. What do you see?" He said nothing at first, only stared. Then he said, "I see my own reflection, but it is cracked, distorted." I nodded. Your mind is like this pond when it is disturbed. Thoughts, emotions, fears, they ripple across the surface, hiding the true reflection beneath. Stillness is when you allow the water to settle. Then you can see yourself and the world as it truly is. Entering stillness can be frightening at first. You may think it is emptiness, or that something is missing, or that you will be swallowed by your own silence. But I have watched countless people sit quietly for the first time, trembling at the absence of sound. Yet slowly, gradually, the fear dissolves. They begin to hear what was always there. The subtle music of life, the heartbeat of the earth, the gentle rhythm of breath. In this space, wisdom grows, quietly, gently, without effort. Even in our daily lives, stillness is possible. Walking slowly, eating slowly, washing your hands or cleaning the floor. Each can be a practice of stillness. When we are truly present in the moment, not lost in thought, not chasing what is past or what may come, we touch the essence of life. I have seen farmers, as they tend their fields, reach a state of quiet mindfulness, and their hearts become like the calm river. Their eyes open, seeing every leaf, every insect, every grain of soil with gentle appreciation. Stillness is also a teacher of patience. It reminds us that not all answers come immediately. Not all understanding arrives at once. The tree does not force its growth. The flower does not rush to bloom, and the moon does not hurry to rise. And yet, all unfolds in perfect timing. I tell my students, be still, and the world will reveal its rhythm. Do not push, do not pull, do not hurry. The truth arrives when you are ready to receive it, in your own time, in your own quiet space. There is a story I often share of a mountain and a river. The mountain stands firm, immovable through all storms, all winds, all seasons. The river flows at its base, moving and changing, sometimes roaring, sometimes whispering. The mountain and the river seem different, yet they are one. The river is nourished by the mountain, and the mountain is reflected in the river. Stillness and movement exist together, each teaching the other, each completing the other. In the same way, stillness does not reject life's activity, but holds it gently, providing a space for reflection, understanding, and peace. And in our hearts, stillness carries love. When the mind quiets, we can see others clearly, without judgment, without fear, without distraction. A mother sitting quietly with her child, a friend listening without interruption, a stranger helping without expectation. These acts are born from the space of stillness. In this quiet heart, compassion arises naturally, as if it were always there, waiting for the noise to subside. Sometimes the world feels too loud, too chaotic, too full of demands, and it is easy to believe that stillness is impossible. But even for a moment, a single breath, a single pause, a single glance out the window at the sky, you can touch it, you can remember it, and if you return to it often, the noise will not control you. You will not be swept away by fear or anger or despair. Stillness will be your anchor, your refuge, your teacher. Ah, my dear friend, let us practice this now. Close your eyes gently. Notice the breath as it enters and leaves your body. Feel your feet on the ground, your body supported by the earth. Listen to the silence between the sounds. Notice the gaps between your thoughts. In these spaces, the world speaks clearly, softly, honestly. The heart becomes light, the mind becomes calm, and you are reminded, quietly but firmly, that life is not only about doing, achieving, or struggling. Life is also about being, listening, witnessing, and resting. Stillness does not come from force. It comes from surrender. It comes from allowing the mind to settle, allowing the heart to open, allowing life to simply be as it is. And in this stillness, you discover not only the world outside, but the universe inside. The vast, quiet, endless space of your own being, full of wisdom, full of love, full of possibility. Remember this always. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is life, fully alive, fully present, fully understood. And when you walk back into the world from your quiet place, you carry it with you, like a gentle light, illuminating your path, calming your heart, and guiding your steps with clarity and compassion. The path of acceptance. Ah, my dear friend, sit with me a while. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. Notice the gentle rustle of leaves, and listen to the soft murmur of the wind as it moves through the branches. Today, I wish to speak with you about acceptance. Not just the word, but the deep, living kind of acceptance that flows quietly into the heart and changes how we see everything. Acceptance is not giving up. It is not surrendering in weakness. And it is not pretending the world is different than it is. True acceptance is like the river that moves around stones. It does not resist, it does not fight, and yet it is strong and alive. I remember long ago, a student came to me, carrying a heavy heart. He had faced failure, loss, and endless frustration. His eyes were tired, his steps hesitant, and his words were thick with sorrow. "Master," he said, "why must life be so unfair? Why does suffering come to me when I have tried so hard? I cannot understand why the world is like this." I looked at him and smiled softly, because I too had known the burden of trying to control what cannot be controlled. I took his hands in mine and said, "My dear, you see the world as a judge, expecting it to conform to your wishes. But the river does not care about your plans. The wind does not bend to your commands. To walk in peace, one must first learn to flow, to bend, to breathe with what is, rather than what should be." Acceptance begins with noticing. It begins with seeing the truth of the moment without dressing it up, without pretending it is different. When the rain falls on your face, it is not good or bad. It simply falls. When sorrow comes, it is not a punishment or a mistake. It simply is. Life, my dear friend, is neither cruel nor kind. It simply is, and our minds are the ones who paint it with labels and stories. To accept is to remove those stories for a while, to rest in the moment as it is, without the weight of expectation. I tell this often to my students. Acceptance is not the end of striving. It is the beginning of freedom. When we stop struggling against what is, we discover the strength to act with clarity, not from fear or desire, but from wisdom. I remember another story of a bamboo forest battered by storms. The strongest trees would snap, rigid and unyielding, but the bamboo would bend, sometimes bowing nearly to the earth, and yet, after the storm, it would rise straight again. The bamboo does not resist the wind. It accepts it. And in that acceptance, it survives, it thrives, it continues. So it is with the human heart. Those who resist every difficulty, who demand life to be a certain way, often break. But those who practice acceptance, who breathe with what is, find resilience beyond measure. Acceptance also teaches patience. Many come seeking answers quickly, wanting suffering to disappear, wanting peace to arrive instantly. But like the mountain that has stood for centuries, like the river carving valleys over eons, wisdom and peace take their time. We cannot rush them. In moments of acceptance, we allow time to unfold. We allow ourselves to heal. We allow the world to show its lessons slowly, gently, and in ways we may not expect. I often watch the students sitting in the courtyard, restless at first, and then gradually, over weeks and months, their hearts soften, their minds quiet, and they begin to see that life's unfolding has its own rhythm. We cannot force it, we cannot control it, but we can flow with it, and in that flow, we find our own strength. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, a traveler came with hands trembling, eyes wide with fear of the unknown. "Master," he said, "I cannot face what is to come. My heart is full of dread." I pointed to the horizon, where the sky was painted with gentle pinks and golds, and said, "See the colors, see the clouds. They rise and fall, they change and pass, and yet the sky remains. So it is with your life. What comes will come, and what passes will pass. To accept is to be the sky, wide, steady, and unafraid. Do not cling to the clouds. Do not resist the wind. Allow them to move, and you will find that nothing truly harms you. Acceptance is not easy. Often, it feels like surrendering, like giving up, and the mind rebels. I should not feel this, it whispers. This should not be happening. Yet the heart knows a deeper truth. Resistance is heavy. Resistance binds, confines, and tortures. Acceptance releases. It frees the heart to experience life fully, to meet sorrow and joy alike with equanimity, to act with love rather than fear, to respond with wisdom rather than anger. I remember sitting by a quiet pond, where the reflection of the sky shone clear on the water's surface. A student approached, troubled by grief. I asked him to look into the pond. He saw the ripples, disturbed by the wind, and said, "I see only disturbance, Master." I said, "Yes, the wind makes ripples. But notice, beneath the ripples, the water is still calm, reflecting the sky. So it is with your mind. Acceptance is not denying the ripples. It is resting beneath them, in the quiet depth where clarity and peace reside. Every day offers small opportunities to practice acceptance. When the child spills water, when the firewood falls, when the conversation goes wrong, when the unexpected occurs, instead of clenching the heart, we can breathe, notice, and accept. In these small acts, the heart grows strong. In these quiet lessons, the mind learns freedom. Life does not become perfect, but we become capable, resilient, gentle, and wise. Even suffering, the deepest sorrow, can teach us acceptance. I have walked with many who have faced loss, illness, betrayal, and fear. Their tears flowed freely, their hearts ached, and yet, when they allowed themselves to breathe into the pain, to accept it rather than fight it, a light emerged. A light of understanding, a light of compassion, a light of quiet strength. Acceptance does not remove the pain, but it changes the way we relate to it. It becomes a teacher, not an enemy. So, my dear friend, I invite you now to breathe with me. Close your eyes gently. Notice the weight of your body on the earth, the rise and fall of your chest, the quiet beating of your heart. Allow thoughts to come and go. Allow feelings to rise and pass. Allow the world as it is, without judgment. You are not giving up. You are not weak. You are alive, fully and deeply, embracing the flow of life with courage, patience, and love. Acceptance is the path, but it is also the journey. It is not something to grasp or finish. It is like the river, the wind, the sky, always moving, always present, always teaching. In practicing acceptance, we discover that life, in all its imperfection, in all its surprise, in all its beauty and sorrow, is exactly as it should be. And in that discovery, the heart opens, the mind clears, and we find a peace that is steady, deep, and unshakable. Ah, my dear, remember, to accept is not to yield to life's storms. It is to meet them with calm eyes, open hands, and a gentle heart. It is to see clearly, act wisely, and love freely. It is to walk the path with courage, grace, and quiet joy, no matter what comes. And in this way, life itself becomes our teacher, our companion, and our home. Embracing impermanence. Ah, my dear friend, come sit with me under this old tree, whose roots have felt many seasons, whose branches have bent with countless winds. Today, I wish to speak to you about impermanence. Do not be alarmed by the word. It may sound heavy, final, or frightening, but listen with your heart, for impermanence is not a curse. It is the very breath of life, the quiet teacher that shows us the beauty of each passing moment. You see, many of us walk through life thinking things will stay the same. We believe the laughter of today will echo forever, that the warm sun of this morning will never fade, that the people we love will always be beside us, and that the moments of joy will never end. But, as you know, the river moves, the seasons change, and even the tallest mountains wear down with time. This is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you, to open your eyes to the preciousness of now. I remember long ago, a young monk came to me, his eyes heavy with fear. He had just lost his father, and his world seemed to shatter into fragments of sorrow and anger. He asked me, "Master, why did he have to leave? Why does everything I love slip away?" I looked into his eyes, and I said softly, "My dear one, the leaves fall in autumn, do they not? They do not cling to the branch. They do not resist the wind. And yet in falling, they become part of the earth, nourishing new life. Your father's leaving is like the falling leaf. His life has changed form, and though you cannot see him as you once did, the love remains, the lessons remain, the memories remain. Impermanence is not destruction. It is transformation. To truly embrace impermanence, we must first see it in the simplest of things. Look at the water in the pond. It glimmers under the sun this morning, but by evening, the reflection will change. Clouds will drift across the sky. Wind will stir the ripples, and the moment you saw will never return. Yet, in that constant change, there is life, there is beauty, and there is a subtle teaching that whispers. Do not cling, do not grasp, do not demand that things remain as they are. I often tell my students that impermanence is the heart's greatest teacher. When you understand it, you begin to treasure each smile, each breath, each quiet moment. The cup of tea in your hands tastes richer when you know it will grow cold. The hug from a friend feels warmer when you understand it is fleeting. The song of the bird outside becomes music to the soul precisely because it will not repeat itself in exactly the same way. This is the paradox. Because all things are impermanent, every moment is infinitely precious. There was a time, many seasons ago, when I walked through the forest in silence. The autumn leaves carpeted the ground in red, gold, and amber. A student followed me, quiet and pensive, his heart burdened with desire and expectation. He looked at the fallen leaves and sighed. "Master, why must they die? Why must they fall?" I stopped, and I picked up a leaf, worn and fragile, and held it between my fingers. "Look at this leaf," I said gently. "It has given its life to the earth, to the soil, to the future leaves that will grow. Without letting go, it cannot nourish what comes next." In impermanence, there is generosity, there is continuity, there is the flow of life itself. Death is not the end. It is part of the river, part of the dance of existence. Embracing impermanence does not mean we become cold or detached. On the contrary, it deepens our capacity to love, to feel, to live fully. When we accept that everything changes, the laughter, the sorrow, the wealth, the beauty, the friendships, the health, we stop holding too tightly. We stop squeezing life into a box of expectations. And in that letting go, we find freedom. Our hearts expand, our minds become lighter, and we can walk through life with eyes wide open, taking in each moment with gratitude, humility, and wonder. I recall a woman who came to me many years ago. She was grieving over a lost child, and her heart was heavy with despair. She could not sleep, could not eat, and could not find peace. I told her, "See the river. It does not mourn the fish that swim away. It does not weep for the branches that float past. It flows endlessly, and in that flow, life continues. Your child has returned to the great flow of existence, and though you cannot see the same form, the essence, the love, the connection remains. To embrace impermanence is to trust the river, to trust life, to trust that change, though sometimes painful, is always natural. Many fear impermanence because it reminds us of loss. Yet, loss and change are not enemies. They are teachers. Each time a season ends, each time a friendship shifts, each time a moment passes, the heart is given a chance to grow, to understand, to awaken. We are not meant to cling, not because attachment is wrong, but because life itself is movement, and resisting movement only brings suffering. By leaning into the flow, by feeling the impermanence of all things, we touch the deep pulse of existence. We learn humility, patience, and compassion for ourselves and for others. Every morning, I watch the sun rise over the mountains. The light touches the leaves, the river, the stones, and I remember, each day is new and yet fleeting. Each moment will never return in exactly the same way. I breathe with that understanding. I walk with that understanding. And I try to teach it to those who come seeking peace. The clouds may hide the sun, the wind may scatter the leaves, the rain may soak the earth, and still the truth remains. Change is constant, and in that constant flow, life is rich, vivid, and alive. Impermanence also teaches gratitude. When we recognize that each smile, each hug, each breath is fleeting, we begin to cherish them more deeply. We stop taking life for granted. We stop assuming that people will always be here, that moments will always be easy, that joy will always return. Instead, we hold lightly, we give freely, we love fully, and we notice the small wonders that often escape the eyes of those clinging to permanence. There is a story of an old potter in a village. He would shape the clay carefully, lovingly, and when the pot was finished, he would smile and say, "This will not last forever. It will crack, it will fade, but in its time, it will serve, and in its passing, it will nourish new life." The villagers did not understand at first. They wanted permanence, certainty, security. But the potter knew the secret. To accept impermanence is to embrace life itself. My dear friend, impermanence is not only about the outer world. It is also about us, about our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions. We change every day, in ways subtle and profound. Our feelings shift, our minds wander, our bodies age. To resist this is to create suffering. To flow with it is to find harmony. To embrace impermanence is to dance with life, to laugh with it, to cry with it, and ultimately, to live fully without fear. So, I invite you now to take a deep breath and feel the impermanence in your own life. Notice the thoughts that rise and pass, the sensations that come and go, the moments that flicker like candlelight. Do not cling, do not judge, do not fear. Simply watch, simply feel, simply live. In this simple witnessing, you touch the truth of existence. You touch the flow of life. You touch the deep, steady peace that lies beneath all change. Ah, my dear one, remember, life is a river, always moving, always changing, and in that movement, there is beauty, there is learning, and there is endless opportunity to awaken. To embrace impermanence is not to surrender to loss. It is to open your heart fully to the richness of every fleeting, precious moment. And in that openness, you will find a peace that no storm can shake, a joy that no shadow can dim, and a love that flows endlessly, like the river itself. The wisdom of patience. Ah, my dear friend, come, sit beside me. Feel the earth beneath you, the wind brushing softly over your skin, and the quiet pulse of life all around. Today, I wish to speak with you about patience. Not the kind of patience that is forced or cold, not the waiting with clenched fists and restless mind, but the gentle, warm, heartful patience that allows life to unfold as it will, that accepts the rhythm of existence, and that quietly nurtures growth without hurry or fear. Many people misunderstand patience. They think it is merely waiting, but waiting is passive, often filled with desire or frustration, a clock ticking in the mind while the heart aches. True patience is not about counting minutes or days. It is about feeling the movement of life, understanding the slow unfolding of the universe, and aligning oneself with the natural tempo of things. It is like tending a garden. You cannot rush the seed to grow faster by pressing it into the soil. You water it gently, you ensure it receives light and warmth, and you trust that in its own time, it will rise. I recall a young monk, full of eagerness and fire, who once came to me. He was impatient with his practice, anxious to achieve understanding quickly. He said to me, "Master, why does enlightenment not come now? I have been meditating, studying, trying to understand the teachings. Why must I wait so long?" I smiled at him and took his hand, guiding him to the river nearby. The water flowed slowly but steadily, twisting and turning, sometimes bubbling over rocks, sometimes barely moving through the reeds. I said, "Look at the river. It does not hurry, yet it reaches the sea. It flows around obstacles, nourishes life along its banks, and follows the path it must take. You too must learn to flow, to let understanding come to you gently, naturally. Impatience is like trying to drag the river. It will only resist, creating turbulence in your heart. Patience teaches us the value of time and the beauty of gradual change. Life does not deliver all at once, and often the lessons we need most come slowly, in quiet moments when we are not even aware of the growth happening within us. A tree does not grow to full height in a day. It endures seasons of wind, rain, drought, and sun. Its strength comes from patience, from the enduring quiet accumulation of growth, unnoticed by the hurried eye. So too, our hearts, our minds, our understanding grow best in their own time, and forcing them only leads to broken branches and wilted leaves. I have met many people who struggle with patience. They want love immediately, success instantly, understanding without effort. And when life does not conform to their timeline, they suffer. I tell them, "You are like a farmer staring at a field, demanding the grain to appear before it is ripe. The soil must rest, the rain must fall, the sun must warm, and only then will the harvest come. Trust the process, trust your effort, but also trust the timing of the universe." Patience is not about laziness. It is about respect for life, for oneself, and for the natural rhythm that surrounds all things. There was a story of an old potter who worked slowly, carefully, shaping clay into vessels. The villagers would often complain, "Why do you take so long? The market waits, the people want your pots now." And the potter would simply smile, his hands steady, his eyes calm, saying, "Rushing will only break the clay." Patience allows the form to emerge, strong and beautiful. Everything made in haste carries cracks that time will reveal. He understood what so many forget. The depth and strength of anything created in patience cannot be rushed. The same is true of our hearts and minds. Understanding, love, wisdom, all require gentle, persistent care and cannot be forced. Patience also teaches humility. It shows us that we are not the masters of time, that life does not bend to our demands, that all things have their own pace. When we accept this, we release the constant anxiety that comes from wanting, from grasping, from trying to make everything happen immediately. we begin to see life as a series of moments, each with its own value, each deserving attention, care, and respect. We stop living only for the future or clinging to the past, and instead, we are present with what is, quietly and fully. I remember a winter when the snow covered the mountains. A young traveler came to the monastery, frustrated because he could not continue his journey. The path was blocked, the winds were harsh, and he grew angry, shouting at the world, at fate, at me. I took him outside and let him feel the cold wind, see the snow piling high, and listen to the stillness. "Do you feel it?" I asked. "You cannot move the snow. You cannot command the weather. The only thing you can do is wait, adapt, and prepare. In waiting, you learn. In patience, you discover strength you never knew you had." Slowly, he understood. Slowly, he saw that patience was not suffering, but a teacher, a guide, a quiet companion that would see him through the storm. Sometimes, patience is tested most by the things we care about deeply. When a loved one is ill, when dreams falter, when challenges arise, the heart feels pressure to act, to fix, to change the outcome. Yet in these moments, patience is not passivity. It is active presence. It is being there, offering calm, compassion, and support, while understanding that the unfolding of events may not match our desires. Patience is strength, quiet but powerful, a shield for the heart and a light for the mind. I often tell my students that patience and love are inseparable. True love cannot be rushed, for it must grow in trust, in understanding, in shared moments. A seed of care takes time to blossom. A friendship cannot be hurried, for the roots must spread deep into the soil of respect, honesty, and vulnerability. And so too, our own hearts require patience. We cannot demand immediate change, instant wisdom, or overnight peace. We must nurture ourselves gently, allowing understanding and compassion to unfold in their own time. There is a story of the bamboo tree. For years, the gardener waters it, tends to it, and waits. The tree seems dormant, with no visible growth. Yet beneath the soil, roots are forming, strengthening, preparing. And then, one day, it shoots up rapidly, tall and strong. The growth was always happening, hidden from view, and patience allowed it to reach its potential. So too, our inner growth often remains unseen. We may feel stagnant, lost, or frustrated. Yet patience assures us that the roots are spreading, preparing for the moments of visible transformation. Patience is a meditation in itself. It teaches us to breathe with the flow of life, to notice the small details, the quiet wonders that go unnoticed in the rush. The morning mist, the slow unfolding of a flower, the rhythm of the seasons, the laughter of a friend, all become richer when experienced without haste. Patience turns ordinary moments into profound lessons, teaching us that life is not about speed or achievement alone, but about presence, attention, and care. Ah, my dear friend, remember this. Patience is not weakness, it is not resignation, it is not waiting with despair. Patience is the gentle river, flowing steadily, shaping the world quietly, enduring all obstacles, nourishing life along its path. When you practice patience, you align yourself with the deeper currents of existence, and you discover a calm, enduring strength that cannot be shaken by storms, by delays, or by the unpredictability of life. So, take a deep breath, feel the slow heartbeat of life, and let patience become your companion. Let it guide your actions, your thoughts, your relationships, your growth. Trust that all things have their time, that each moment, however small, is a teacher, and that through patience, the heart learns to see, the mind learns to understand, and the soul learns to rest in the quiet, enduring beauty of life itself. Embracing change. Ah, my dear friend, come sit closer. Feel the warm earth beneath you, the soft rustle of leaves above, and the quiet rhythm of life flowing all around. Today, I wish to speak to you about change. Not the kind of change that shakes the world violently, but the subtle, quiet, persistent change that moves like a gentle current beneath the surface, reshaping everything if we let it. Many people fear change because it is unknown, because it pushes us out of comfort, because it whispers that the life we have carefully arranged may not remain as it is. Yet, change is neither enemy nor foe. It is the very breath of existence, the rhythm of the universe, the invisible hand guiding growth, learning, and awakening. I remember a young monk, full of hope and fear, who once came to me trembling. "Master," he said, "everything around me is shifting. My friends are leaving, my work is uncertain, my heart feels torn. I do not know how to live when nothing stays the same." I smiled gently and took him to the river. The river, as always, flowed steadily, carrying water past rocks, reeds, and fallen branches. "Do you see the river?" I asked. "It changes constantly, yet it flows. Today, the water may be calm. Tomorrow, it may tumble over stones. It erodes banks, carves channels, nourishes life. And yet, it is always itself. Change does not destroy. It shapes. It is neither cruel nor kind. Yet it teaches the one who watches with open eyes and quiet heart. Change begins softly, almost imperceptibly. The morning light shifts slightly each day, unnoticed at first, until suddenly we see that the seasons have turned. The young leaves have become strong, the blossoms have fallen, the air has grown crisp. Life, too, moves this way. One day, we may notice that we no longer feel as we did, think as we did, hope as we did. These changes are subtle teachers, asking us to let go of what no longer serves us and embrace what is emerging. It is not always easy, for the mind resists what it cannot control, but the heart can learn to flow with the rhythm. I often tell my students that clinging to permanence is the root of much suffering. We attach ourselves to people, to places, to ideas, as if they are solid, unchanging rocks. And then, when the wind of change blows, when life reshapes the landscape, we are thrown into turmoil, as if the world has betrayed us. Yet, the rocks we cling to are always eroding, the air we breathe is always moving, the river always flowing. To resist is to suffer unnecessarily. To embrace change is to live fully, to witness the beauty of life unfolding, moment by moment, without grasping, without fear. There was once an old gardener, tending his orchard. He had planted each tree with care, watering them, pruning them, watching seasons pass. One year, a violent storm tore through the valley, bending trees, breaking branches, scattering fruits. The villagers lamented. "Everything is lost." But the gardener simply walked among the trees, touched their bent trunks, smiled. "The orchard is not destroyed," he said. "It is changed. Some trees bear differently now. Some must be supported. The roots are strong. Life finds a way." And indeed, in the following months, the orchard flourished in ways none had expected. Change had come, and with it, growth that patience and acceptance nurtured. I have seen people cling desperately to their routines, their beliefs, their past. They say, "I cannot change, I do not want to change." But I whisper to them softly, change is already here, whether you see it or not. The clouds above, the river below, the seasons, the hearts around you, they are all changing. You may resist, and that resistance will hurt you. Or you may flow, and discover strength and beauty you never knew existed. To embrace change is to open the door to life itself, to feel its pulse, to participate fully in its unfolding. Change also brings endings, and endings often carry sorrow. The loss of someone dear, the closing of a chapter, the fading of familiar landscapes, these are tender wounds. Yet, within the endings, there is the seed of beginning. Every sunset carries the promise of sunrise. Every winter holds the whisper of spring. When we grieve change, we honor what was. And in that honoring, we prepare ourselves to receive what is coming. Life is neither cruel nor kind. It is a constant dance of departure and arrival, of letting go and embracing anew. I once guided a young traveler, lost and afraid, through a mountain pass. The paths were slippery, rocks shifting beneath our feet. He clung tightly, resisting every small movement, afraid of falling. I took his hand, steadying him, and whispered, "Do not fear the path. The rocks may shift, the wind may blow, but the way is still beneath you. To resist the change is to fall. To move with it is to walk safely. Life is like this path. The terrain changes, yet your steps, when mindful, carry you forward." Slowly, he learned to move with the shifting stones, to let his heart trust what it could not control, to embrace each step as it came. Embracing change requires courage, for it asks us to step into the unknown, to release the familiar. It also requires presence, for we cannot flow with the river while lost in thoughts of what was or what should be. Mindfulness and acceptance are companions on the journey. When we notice our fear, our resistance, our sorrow, we do not judge ourselves. We simply observe, breathe, and allow the current of life to carry us gently toward what must come. Many seek stability outside themselves, in relationships, possessions, status. Yet the true anchor lies within, in the mind that is aware, in the heart that is open, in the spirit that does not cling. When the world shifts, when the people we love change, when the seasons turn, we are not lost if we have cultivated the calm center within. That inner stillness becomes a lighthouse, a guide through storms, a reminder that change is not the enemy, but a companion leading us to deeper understanding. I recall a village struck by famine. Crops failed, rivers dried, and people despaired. Many resisted, clinging to hope of a past abundance. Yet some, guided by wisdom, adapted. They planted different seeds, gathered water from distant streams, shared what little they had. Life had changed, but by embracing it, they survived and later thrived in ways they had never imagined. The lesson is clear. To resist change is to suffer. To adapt is to discover hidden strength, new possibilities, and joy in unexpected places. Ah, my friend, remember this. Change is not something that happens to you. It is life itself moving, shifting, shaping, teaching. To fight it is to exhaust the spirit. To embrace it is to awaken to the fullness of existence. Every breath, every heartbeat, every passing moment is change. Every joy, every sorrow, every encounter is change. And in noticing this, in feeling it with an open heart, we learn to dance with life, rather than stumble against it. So, breathe deeply, and let the world move through you as it will. Let your heart soften to endings and beginnings alike. Let your mind notice the quiet, persistent currents shaping your days. Embrace the gentle, unstoppable river of change, for it is neither cruel nor kind. It is simply life, and to flow with it is to live fully, with courage, with presence, and with love. The gentle closing, embracing life's fullness. Ah, my dear friend, come sit with me for a while. Let us breathe together in the quiet, and feel the day settling around us like a soft blanket. Here, in this moment, there is no hurry, no expectation, only the gentle pulse of life, the subtle whisper of the wind, the distant call of birds returning to their nests. We have traveled together through many lessons, many stories, and now we reach this final part, not as an ending, but as a gentle turning of the page, a pause to look back, to gather what is learned, and to step forward with calm and quiet joy. Do you remember the first time we spoke about the river? How I showed you its flow, how the water never stays the same, yet is always itself. Life, my friend, is very much like that river. From the beginning to this final part of our journey together, we have seen that everything moves, shifts, and transforms. We have talked about patience, about letting go, about embracing change, about understanding that even sorrow and fear carry within them the seeds of awakening. And now, as we sit here together in this quiet space, I want you to feel that the lessons are not something to store in your mind like stones in a bag, but rather something to carry gently in your heart, to let them guide your steps without burden, without grasping, without fear. You see, life is not a problem to solve, nor a puzzle to fix. It is a journey to feel, to witness, to participate in fully, even when the path twists unexpectedly, even when the skies darken, even when the heart feels heavy with loss or doubt. Many times, we think that we must hold tightly to what we love, to what we hope for, to what feels safe, because we fear that without control, life will scatter us like leaves in the wind. But the truth, my dear friend, is that control is an illusion. Life moves whether we resist it or embrace it. And when we embrace it fully, softly, with an open heart, we discover a freedom so gentle, so warm, so reassuring, that it carries us through even the heaviest storms. I recall once walking through a quiet forest with an old friend. The autumn leaves fell softly around us, each one a brilliant fire against the muted browns of the earth. My friend lamented the passing of summer, the heat, the long days that were now gone, and I simply listened. Then I said, "Do you see the beauty in the falling leaf? It does not cling to the tree, nor does it fight the wind. It drifts, it turns, it lands where it must, and in doing so, it completes its journey. Life asks nothing more of us, only that we flow like the leaf, with grace, with acceptance, with presence." And my friend smiled, for in that moment, the sorrow of passing time became something tender, something to honor, not to resist. We have spoken often about change, have we not? How fear of it can paralyze the spirit, and how embracing it can open doors we did not even know existed. But now, in this final part, I wish to remind you that change is not something separate from you. It is not an outside force to battle, nor a storm to weather. Change is life itself, coursing through you, through everyone, through every moment. To live fully is to move with it, to accept it, to allow it to shape you as the wind shapes the branches of the tree. Sometimes, the shaping is gentle, almost unnoticed. Other times, it is fierce, demanding that we shed old skin, old ways of thinking, old habits, old fears. And yet, in every instance, there is learning, there is growth, there is a deep, silent beauty waiting to be recognized. Do not fear the endings, for they are only beginnings in disguise. Do not mourn the closing of a chapter, for it makes space for a new story to emerge. We have traveled together through ideas, reflections, and gentle lessons, and perhaps now you feel the quiet stirring inside yourself, a sense of clarity, a soft light, a subtle knowing that life is not about holding on too tightly, but about opening, breathing, and trusting the flow. When sadness comes, sit with it. When joy comes, sit with it. When uncertainty comes, sit with it. And in all of it, do not judge, do not cling, do not push away. Just sit, just breathe, just be. I want you to remember, always, that the heart is like a garden. You cannot force it to bloom, nor can you keep it from withering at times. But with gentle attention, with patience, with kindness, it will open in its own time. Some days, flowers may appear. Other days, there may be only quiet soil and the whisper of roots beneath. Both are sacred, both are necessary, and both teach you to be present, to be humble, to be grateful for the simple miracle of being alive. Life is full of small, quiet miracles. The warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of fresh water, the laughter of a friend, the kindness of a stranger, the way a bird pauses in midair before it lands. These are not trivial things. They are the essence of life itself, the soft music behind all turmoil and distraction, a reminder that beauty is always present, even in the most ordinary moments. Do not overlook them, my friend. Do not wait for grand events to notice that life is tender, life is fleeting, life is beautiful. In this final part, I wish for you a heart that is gentle with itself, a mind that is patient and kind, a spirit that is soft, yet resilient. And I wish for you courage, the quiet kind, the patient kind, the kind that does not roar, but simply breathes and keeps moving forward, step by step, moment by moment. There will be challenges, yes. There will be days when the path is unclear, when the clouds hang low and the rain feels endless. But even in those days, even in those clouds, you can find your center, your stillness, your own gentle light that will guide you. If only you notice it, if only you trust it, if only you allow yourself to rest in it. And finally, my dear friend, remember that the journey we have shared through these parts is not a map to follow rigidly, nor a set of rules to obey. It is an invitation, a gentle nudge, a whisper from life itself asking you to be present, to be kind, to be patient, to notice, to breathe, to love, to let go, to embrace, to feel, and to trust. The lessons are inside you already, like seeds waiting for water, like fireflies waiting for dusk. You only need to pause, look, and allow them to glow in their own time. So take this with you as you step beyond this final part. Let life flow through you. Let change shape you softly. Let joy lift you gently. Let sorrow teach you quietly. Walk your path with tenderness, with curiosity, with courage. Cherish the moments that make your heart swell, and honor the ones that bring tears. Live fully, breathe deeply, and remember always that you are part of the great, flowing river of existence. And in every heartbeat, in every breath, you are home. And now, my dear friend, as we close this chapter together, I wish you peace. A soft, abiding peace that rests not on circumstance, but on the quiet knowing that life is alive, that you are alive, and that in this very moment, everything is enough, everything is whole, and everything is just as it should be. Step gently, breathe deeply, and carry with you the warmth of this journey, the light of your own heart, and the tender hope that every tomorrow brings a new chance to live fully, openly, and with love. This is our final moment together in words, but the journey continues in every breath, in every glance, in every heartbeat. Walk softly, my friend, and know that life is beautiful, always, even when it seems quiet, even when it seems hard, even when it simply is. And with that, I leave you with a gentle embrace of existence itself, and the quiet whisper that you are exactly where you need to be, always.